Our CPA, have not had a meeting. Trails Committee,
Trails Committee had a meeting on Thursday night last week. I was not able to attend because of celebrating our 55th wedding anniversary. However, we had a Frost Executive Board meeting last night at which 2 members of the Trails Committee were present. So they brought me up to date on some of the items that took place, the most important of which is that Saturday, as usual, the third Saturday of the month, is a work day, and it is truly going to be an exciting work day because it is not just any kind of cleanup. It's going out to some of the rare finds. It's going out to the single-track trails and helping to widen and develop them. And by widen, it means get them from 1 footprint wide to 2 footprint wide. These will never be more than single-track trails.
Good.
It is rough terrain, and there's going to be brush cutting all over the place. But that's what Saturday will entail. So, 8 o'clock, and the central location for starting this will, as usual, be at the barns, which are located on Stallion Hill Road across from the OSV parking lot. It only goes from 8 to 12. We already have about 8 to 10 people signed up who will definitely be there. We have teams set up, but most everybody is going to be working in the same general areas, working specifically on the ST3s.
Nice.
good.
And
These are-
congratulations, 55 years.
These are trails that have not been really fully developed in the past. They're sort of trails that have been pushed by some mountain bikers and by some of the people who are more hardy in terms of going out and breaking the trail themselves. And it also is a way of getting around some of the damage that was done by the tornado, which still has some of its results on the ground, which have not been taken care of. I mean, there's trees up in that section that it would take 3 men in a
Yeah.
chairlift to be able to move. I mean, even by us.
Are you talking the Riverland, or where are you gonna be?
Oh, no, it's not gonna be Riverlands at all. It's all in lead mine.
On Lead Mine, okay.
Could I just, one real quick thing, and I know you know this, but, so you're taking trails that some individual broke, and you're gonna make it into an official trail?
We had actually done the flagging on the trails, and it
Okay.
has been done for about 6 years.
Okay,
But we were not able to get the upper ends of the trails done because of the tornado.
okay. Because as you know, there's a real science to establishing a
Oh,
trail.
yeah.
Okay, good. It sounded like just somebody went out there.
Oh,
and-
no.
Okay,
We've also had recently, people like Dave and Richard go up on the trails themselves and make sure that they were still viable, that the flagging was still in place, so that everything is still gonna be functioning. And of course, one of the things we're trying to do is to interconnect some of the trails, to make sure that you have a start and stop place, but not a place where you have to turn around and come back down the same trail. We want everything to be able to be moving from one spot to another.
But these are all approved,
They have been approved already, oh yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And if you look at everybody should know this by now, we have the new handbook out. The handbook has arrived, and the handbook is available in all the normal places, like at Town Hall
Oh.
and here at the school. And it has some revisions in it, but if you look in the handbook, under the lead mine property trails, you will see these ST3s, and they are skinny,
all right.
but they're fun.
yeah.
And
Those
Becky
are
has those
ST3
stacked up
trails?
outside her
Those
office?
are those ST3 trails that
Yeah.
you're working on? Okay.
Nice.
Thank God I got my hip fixed, now I can go on them, huh?
My brother,
Yeah, what you can do is go on them and then go have the other one done.
Yeah. All right, so we've got that, open space, no report there. Lakes Advisory, we don't have anybody representing that. Approval of minutes,
We're doing the letter permit for 28
okay.
Picnic
Yep,
Road.
Yep, go ahead.
Sure. If you want to come up, Michael, you can just sit at the table and. So Michael's the property owner at 28 Breakneck Road. So this is a tree removal request we have in. Here's the property. We've got a pond on the other side. We've got a a small wetland identified here, small isolated wetland. He's got 7 trees back here, 6 are these large pines right here. Probably, I would say, I pulled out the plan for when you had your septic done. I'd say it's based off of where that location of the house is to where that wetland is. When I measured in the plan, it was 40, 45 feet away, probably.
Yeah, I would say, depending on where you stop the wetland, but yeah, where
Yeah.
that dip spot is.
Yeah, yeah, so I looked at that today, I knew we had that plan from the septic, so we've got 6 tall pines and one's a deciduous that's kind of mixed in between those.
It's an oak that I've got some pictures of that is on its way out.
So you can actually, well, it's hard to see here, but you can kind of see, here's the picture of his house, and the trees are on this side. I mean, I did take some pictures when we went out there. We went out there for our site visits the other day. So, I mean, it kind of starts here. This is the first one.
Yeah, and other than the oak, it's primarily just the scrub pines.
So here's where, over here, it kind of drops off, and the trees are up further this way.
Where's the wetland relative to those trees, Becky, right now? With that picture up.
Right here, this way. We're about over here. So this kind of drops down over here. It's back here behind where those arborvitaes were on the previous photo. Okay.
Which
Thank
the
you.
deer ate last year.
So see the arborvitaes here, the wetlands down in here. And the first tree to be removed is this one here. So it doesn't appear that it provides shade. That was the one thing property owner was saying when we were out there.
Yeah, based on the direction of where the sun comes up and sun goes down, they don't really do much for shade. And even with taking these 7 out, there's still enough remaining trees. The whole lot is just trees. But these have become a danger to my house. We had the one big pine split a couple of years ago. The oak that's in the picture to take down is being taken down because the pine tree, when it came down, split the oak in half. And when I had the tree guy come out, he goes, the pines need to go. They're too tall, they're too old, they're too close to the house, they're dangerous. He said, the oak, with the split in it, it's starting to rot, it's gonna die. He said, you should get that one out of there at the same time. So, but this has just been here's some photos. This has been I've been in the home for 13 years, and it's just a constant battle. The only time I go on that side of the house is to mow the lawn, and I wear a hard hat because the stuff coming out of those pines, they're constantly dropping branches. One of the reasons for finally doing the removal is the siding on that side of the house is so beat up from limbs hitting it that I want to replace it, but I don't want to spend the money to replace the siding if I'm going to continue to have these pine trees dropping this junk on the house. And I know Steve and Steve were both out there. Couple of the pines are still, fairly healthy, but the tree expert considered them dangerous to the property, and a couple of them are in pretty sad shape. You can see where they're dwindling all the way up to where the only thing that's left on them is in the top, and all the other branches have come down, which I've had to pick up and remove.
What's your word?
Well, there will be trees left.
Oh, there'll be lots of trees left.
There's all these here. I think that if they're a risk to the home.
That entire row along the side of the house is all sugar maple, except for those pines that we want to take out. And I don't want to take out the hardwoods. And then the back side of the property has got a large bird garden in it, as well as, God, I don't know, another 400 or 500 trees. The property goes all the way back up and abuts 84.
All right, any comments, questions?
Good. Are the tallest ones the pines that?
The tallest are the pines. There's the 3 biggest ones are those 3 pines right at the start of the project.
Yeah. Well,
And they're probably close to, I don't know, 150 feet, easy?
yeah, I mean, they're not impacting the wetland in terms of shade. I mean, personally, I don't see your argument so pressing, but I don't have any problem with those trees relative to the wetland in our jurisdiction. There's still
David?
plenty of.
I have no question.
Steve?
Yeah, I mean, I was concerned that your comment, which I agree with, is that, some of these trees are still very healthy. It looked like a couple of them could come out. I don't know, I don't.
Really, the one that's, I would say, is still healthy is the very last pine up on the top of the hill toward the string. The reason the tree guy wanted it out, because the way it's not a straight trunk.
Yep,
It's a split trunk.
Right.
And he was saying that that's gonna become a weakness and it's gonna come down.
right.
That's
Yeah,
why he recommended that particular one coming out.
All in favor? All
I'm out.
opposed? Yep. Yep. All right. Thank you.
Michael, we'll send you a letter outlining that you have approval, and then you can give that to your tree contractor. Okay?
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Take your time. Get that hip done.
No, I
Back surgery-
already,
back surgery
I already
was
did.
The hip in the spring.
The hip is done.
All right. A couple minutes till 6:15.
All right, you
so.
got something you want to go to?
Request for certificate of compliance, sign that. This is 68 Westwood Drive. We recently issued orders of conditions for a patio project here. When they completed the project, they didn't close out their orders of conditions when they built the house originally, so this is to close that out. I don't have any concerns with the project as it was completed. I'd recommend that we sign it, and there's no ongoing conditions for this one.
Okay.
Okay? I have orders of conditions for 22 Breakneck Road. This is file number 300-1045. This is the septic replacement that we approved at the last meeting. I did send this draft to you. I don't know if anyone has any questions on this one. Okay.
Anyone?
Next one coming down is 90 Westwood Drive, file number 300-1044. This was the patio deck project that we reviewed and approved at the last meeting. I also sent this draft out to you. Didn't receive any comments on it.
Right. Any comments?
No.
Oh, looks good.
There you go, sir.
I'll save these ones.
Want to start?
Yeah, go ahead.
In the interest of saving time, the Sturbridge Conservation Commission will hold all public hearings tonight for work within a wetland, water body, or resource area, and/or within a 200-foot buffer zone to a wetland, water body, or resource area, in accordance with the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act,
Right.
MGL Chapter 131, Section 40, and associated regulations, and the Town of Sturbridge Wetland Bylaws and associated regulations. We will not be reading the newspaper ad. Prior to opening the first hearing for each project, the applicant is to submit proof of notification to abutters within 200 feet of the subject property line and proof of legal newspaper advertisement. If these items are not submitted, the public hearing will not open. Additionally, prior to the start of each public hearing, we will announce the location of the project, the applicant, and the applicant's representative. If any of the visitors have not legibly signed in yet, please do. Also, if any visitors are recording this meeting, please let us know. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have the legal ad
All right.
too, or? I can actually project the plans on the screen too, if that's,
Oh,
Yeah.
that's easier if you can do that.
yeah.
He had sent me the cut sheet, but I can, and actually I can look it up. I don't think I have an actual copy of the cut sheet. But I put that in the second time, because you wanted to put in the file, the DEP file number on it.
Yes, yeah, but I just need the proof for the newspaper legal ad for the public hearing. But that's okay, because the third,
Well, yeah, I think I have that.
Do you have it?
Yeah, I don't have it with me, but.
okay. All right, well, technically, without that proof, they can't open the public hearing, can still have a discussion anyways,
Well,
so,
let me take
okay,
a look then. Let me just-
okay. We'll let you look. I don't know if you want to read.
Yeah. It probably got thrown in.
That's okay.
Amendment to the order of conditions for DEP file number 300-771, 51 Technology Park Road, seeking approval for modification to site plans.
So just one thing, I just want to add a correction. So it's, that was the original file number for the project. The new one is, it's 300-1029. It was just put wrong on the request that came to us. So that one was closed out by the previous owner.
Okay.
New property owner. So it's fine. It's just 1029 is the new number, so.
Yeah, I don't know that I have the, they had mailed it to me,
Okay.
and I don't know if it made it into the folder.
Okay, I mean, that's okay, because, I mean, the third-party review for the stormwater's still being done.
That's correct.
Yeah, so we would have to, my recommendation would be, since it isn't complete, and we didn't get the report from McClure, that they would have to continue till we get that information anyways, so I think that it's fine if you want to present it, and we can go over the revisions for the commissioners and.
Sure, that's fine.
Okay,
All right, so, let me bring everybody up to date. This.
Please introduce
Oh,
yourself.
sorry, John Grenier,
And a microphone, if you would,
Yeah.
please. Not for us, for the television audience.
everybody who's
At home.
at home.
That have their priorities set.
That's
They're
right.
watching this.
My name is John Grenier. I am the engineer who designed this project. I'm here with Paul DeLeo, who is the current owner. DeLeo's have a propane gas company. They currently operate on Route 20 in Worcester, kind of on the Shrewsbury-Worcester line. They purchased this property from Meacham's, who had this approved with both the Planning Board and the Conservation Commission for their propane company on this same exact site. It does have an existing order of conditions. When DeLeo's purchased the property, they had that order of conditions extended. So it has a valid order of conditions currently. So what we had done for Paul and his family is to make some, I'd call them minor modifications, just to kind of meet their, how they wanted the site to function. The building is the same exact location, the same exact footprint. Under the original site design, there was a dock height door here. They had no need for a dock height door, so they got rid of that, and so it's just straight overhead doors, garage-style overhead doors, not a dock door. The other modification was in this parking area here, they have a lot of pickup trucks. There was a 24-foot wide driving aisle with parking on either side. We widened that up to 30 feet, just so they have a little bit more maneuverability when they back out with a pickup truck. The final change, when they get deliveries from, the big 18-wheeler propane trucks, to be able to pull, they have the underground propane tanks in this location. That's the same exact location where they were originally proposed and approved. To pull in and have to do almost an S-turn and get a truck in here, and then have to do it'd be more than a 3-point turn to be able to turn around and get out. What made more sense was to be able to drive down Picker Road, pull into the site, and then they could offload and then loop right back out onto Technology Park Road. We showed this to the Planning Board last week at their hearing, and they thought it was a good idea. It just eased the traffic flow and the congestion and made sure it was just an even flow through. So that was seen as a good modification by the planning board. When we did submit this to McClure Engineering, they did wanted us to confirm the soils on site. When this was originally approved through the previous engineer who has since retired, they didn't have any confirmation on the soil types. So we went out with McClure Engineering, I think it was a week ago Monday?
Yes.
A week ago Monday, we dug some test pits, confirmed the soils, confirmed the drainage patterns, and one change that was made within the buffer zone, and I should have said this at the beginning, the 100-foot buffer zone cuts through the site in this fashion. The 200-foot cuts through the building. The majority of the site is grading associated with the detention basin and some pavement on the northern, northeast side of the site. But back to what we did when we reran the drainage and some other things that McClure was looking for. We ended up raising up the berm of the basin just to ensure we had enough storage volume. And this is just a foot higher than what was originally approved for this. We are maintaining the 25-foot no-touch, and there is just grading associated with the basin and some of the sediment forebays in this area. So the biggest change drainage-wise was that we raised the elevation of the berm up just so we ensured that we had enough storage volume for some of the larger storm events. With that, the limit of work has not changed. We maintained, again, all of the 25-foot no disturb. All the work within the buffer zone in this area is with the exception of raising the elevation of the berm up, is exactly the same as what was approved under the original order, or I should say the current order of conditions. We are waiting to hear back from McClure. We sent revised plans back to them last week. It was the day after we had or 2 days after the planning board hearing, so we sent plans out to them. We expect to probably hear back from them this week. We don't anticipate, everything was pretty much, everything they asked for we were able to do. So we don't think there should be any issues with the drainage as it was modified to address their comments. I think that's the long and short of it. If anybody has any questions or comments, we'd love to try to address them.
Becky?
Thank you. I think he gave a great explanation of it. As you remember, we did see this project earlier this year. I believe it was February when they came back in. Previous property owner didn't realize that the permit had expired, so they had to close that one out, file for a new one. We did issue a new permit for that. My concern and question would have been if the limit of work changed, which was my understanding it didn't. You just confirmed that. So we're pretty much looking at the same project. Planning had required a third-party review because there was some modifications to the stormwater. We had the new road going in. McClure Engineering was hired for the town to do that third-party review. They are looking at it on our behalf as well for our regs. But right, we should have something back from them soon. So that was my biggest question and concern, was any modifications to stormwater that we need to be aware of. So I don't have any concerns, provided that McClure's okay with everything.
Okay. Eric, anything?
Nope.
Steve?
What are the things that are on the plan that are within the 50-foot?
Stone ape, these like.
Right, right. Sorry
So-
that I said things.
Yes.
whatever.
Where these are just like stone aprons, so that if there is any discharge of water
Overflow.
from there, it'll dissipate it. It'll
Okay.
keep it from channelizing and rutting.
All right, very good. That's all I have.
Maybe not very good. Did they get raised up along with the berm being raised up?
Yes,
They did.
everything got raised up uniformly.
Okay, you indicated that the berm had gotten raised up.
Well, oh yeah, the whole top of the basin got raised up.
Okay,
And including where this emergency spillway is,
That's one I'm concerned
That
about.
got raised up uniformly.
So on the back side, let's say, as you're standing there on the left-hand side of that basin,
Yeah, over here.
yep.
That got shifted, I
So
pushed.
is there now a drop?
No, I pushed, I just continued, I continued the slope up another foot. I didn't go straight up vertically. That 3-to-1 slope
Yeah.
got continued up another foot going this way. So if you were at the bottom of that slope, the toe of that slope is in the same exact spot. We just continued the slope up another foot.
But does that not then take some amount of the holding capacity away from the detention basin?
No, because this also got shifted. And we're talking about a total of, it's a 3-to-1 slope, so the basin really got shifted 3 feet that way, because everything went up, over, down, and then back up. So it got shifted about 3 feet this way on this end. So
So
the volume.
the basin got shifted, you didn't mention that. All you mentioned was that you raised the berm. So tell us exactly what you did with the detention basin, please.
Okay, we wanted to get more storage volume, because in some of the larger storm events, the way that it was calculated originally, I mean, maybe you can follow it, I hope you can. You have a soil type or ground cover pre-development. And then obviously in the post-development, that is going to be changing to pavement, roofs, lawn area. In the pre-development condition with the original engineer, the standard is to call the existing condition Woods Good, which has a curve number associated with it, saying that under Woods Good, there is less, obviously less runoff coming off that. He had used something like farmland,
So you're
something like
planning on
that,
some absorption.
which would show that in the pre-development condition, there was more runoff coming off. There's less water coming off if you call it Woods Good. If you call it more like farmland, there's going to be more water coming off in the pre-development condition. So what that does is, if we use this as farmland, there's less of a gap in runoff between pre-development and post-development. So when we called it Woods Good, there was a bigger gap. So we had to show, oh boy, we have to try to hold some more water.
Because now it's paved.
Yes, and there's more of a gap. There's less water coming off in the pre-development as opposed to the post-development, so we have to hold more water to balance it, so to speak, because when he was calling it farmland or some,
Okay,
so does that make sense?
It makes sense.
so far that makes sense.
Okay, so
Now,
what I had to
talk me
do was-
What you did with the detention basin.
So
please.
when I raise up the berm, I didn't raise it up, well, straight vertically, because obviously you can't do that. You'd be creating a drop off. So I continued the slope, I held the limit of work, continued the slope up, so it's another foot higher, which would be on a 3-to-1 slope, 3 horizontally, 1 vertically. So it got shifted 3 feet this way, 3 feet this way towards the building area, and 1 foot higher. And I continued that back down, which in act gave it a little bit of a shift by that much, literally, because it's a 3-to-1. So I have more storage volume, and the inside of the basin got shifted 3 feet. But I still have more storage volume because the bottom of the basin just kind of shifted over 3 feet, and I have the berm a foot higher. So I get that much more storage volume. Does that make
good.
sense?
Makes good sense.
Steve, anything?
No.
That said, we don't, would you like a continuation?
Yeah, just to make sure, I gotta get your copy of the cut sheet.
Yep.
And just to make sure McClure is all set, so we don't want to close it, and then all of a sudden McClure has one more thing to change, then we're.
We
coming
can't
back.
close it
Yeah.
tonight.
We
Right,
can't even
right.
open it.
We
'cause
can't even open it.
Yeah.
There's not a hearing,
Right.
Okay,
All right,
it's a discussion.
thank you very much.
all right, thank you very much.
Thanks, nicely done. I'm gonna save more storage.
So,
We're now at,
I was gonna say, our next meeting is November 5th. We'll email you with the time for the
Okay,
public
great. You
hearing.
guys are gonna
I don't think we have anything on there right now. It's probably 6:15, but we'll let you know tomorrow.
Okay, thank you very much.
Welcome.
thank you. Abbreviated notice of resource area delineation, DEP file number 300-1037, continued from September 17th, 2019, 650 and 680 Route 20, Route 15, I'm sorry. Seeking approval of delineation resource area on the subject parcels. Landing Rock LLC, represented by McClure Engineering.
We're hearing a lot about McClure tonight.
So we have a final plan. I have it here. At our last meeting, we asked for a continuation. Our third-party reviewer was going to go back out. There was a couple last things to be looked at. She was happy with the delineation, except for there was an intermittent stream that she felt that the bank should be picked up on that for the resource area delineation in case there was any crossings that would be going through in these areas that we could adequately be looking at what our resource areas are. So that was flagged in the field. It was shown on the plan. Robin did go out there today with Pete. She did email me confirmation that she reviewed the new flagging, and she felt comfortable with that. And then, also, one other change that we added to the plan was there was portions of the sheets that weren't looked at. And just to make sure it was clear when we did our ORAD approval, that we can reference those sheets, we had them add on there that, like a cut line down the sheet, saying that this area was not included with our ORAD, because they didn't look at it. Because we did know that resource areas did extend on those. So with those two changes, she was comfortable that the plans were adequate and that we could move forward with approval of them. Okay?
All right.
Do you want me to show you where the bank is on here, or?
Sure.
Okay. It's mostly on this sheet. Let's see if we can zoom in here. I have a highlighted plan here, but not this one. So you can actually see the ones with the R number in front of them. So we have the BVW delineation in the back here, and then this inside one is bank, and then also is carried along, through here. It's this one with the dots in it. So it carries on up and through. So it's on this sheet, and it does carry down to one of the other sheets. So she was comfortable with that being picked up on there, which I think was a good find.
Yep.
So then we had, like, on this sheet, because the sheet did extend, we just had them add this line, limit of resource area delineation, so it was clear if they came back and there was something over here that we weren't not approving something, so.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Good. I'm good.
All right, do we have a motion?
I move we close the public hearing.
Second?
Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor? All right. Do I have a motion, David, or someone?
Yeah, I move that we approve the abbreviated notice of resource area delineation, file number 300-1037, as indicated this evening with the plan that's dated per our newest sketch, which Becky will reference off.
Yep, it's October 2nd, revision 2, October 2nd, 2019.
10/2/19. And I need a second.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pete.
Thanks for coming in.
Of course.
This time. Have a good one.
Not for long,
Yeah. All right, so we have 10 minutes. So I have some more orders of conditions for signature.
All right.
We have 246 Holland Road, Lot 1. These are the single-family house that we approved at our last meeting. I did receive the revised plan, including the silt fence. I did add that as a condition on that permit. Anyways,
Why do they both have the same mailing address, Becky?
It's two different lots, Lot 1 and Lot 2.
why do they have the same mailing address?
You're talking about 1046 and
They both
1046?
say 246
Yeah.
Holland Road.
Lot 1 and Lot 2.
Yeah, they're two different lots.
Right, they don't have their own addresses yet.
Oh,
So it
okay.
hasn't, right, it hasn't gone through the process with the assessor to get those, or at least since once they've filed, it hasn't, so. All right, this one is for Lot 2, 246 Holland Road. This one's file number 300-1047. Same thing, single-family house, last
Right.
meeting.
Yep, yep.
Big man, thank you, sir. 55 years. Right, nicely done.
Yeah.
Her patience. If I was gonna make some derogatory comment about you, but you done good.
Do you want me to do that one now, or do you
And she is a
want to wait till more
sweetheart.
time to discuss it, or, I don't know, if you have
She
questions?
is awesome.
Is there anything in it that's, yeah, that would probably,
Probably gonna want me to pull up the plans and stuff.
Yeah.
Can wait on that one. All right, wait.
that'll take a little time.
Yeah.
Another one for
Are they going to be here for that?
Every time I read
No?
the word really.
No?
You still have the
I
minutes.
Listen to her. She
Minutes,
says,
yep, we can do
"Really?"
minutes.
Like when somebody says something, really? It's beautiful. I love it.
Almost total disbelief.
Oh, yeah, right. It's dripping with sarcasm. It's great. Really? I can't imitate her.
Do the minutes if you want.
All right,
Which one is this?
we're looking at the October 1st minutes. Do I have any?
Yes, I move that we approve the October 1st minutes as submitted.
I made that change. And that change. One word and one letter.
And one sentence.
I wasn't here, so I,
Do I have a second to,
Second.
discussion? All in favor?
So anxious to get that on.
abstention.
And one abstention, yeah. So that's done.
Well, we got 6 minutes.
Okay,
Do you want
go.
to do this one?
Yeah.
Okay. Want to
Ollie,
squeeze you
pretty
in?
soon it'll be a
We have
period
time
or a
between our next public
semicolon.
hearing. Yep, if you want to come up.
Yep.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, you can sit up there, yeah. So in your packets, and you were emailed the information showing some plan changes. So this is for DP file number 300-1014, 234 and 236 Haynes Road. It's a project update and a project revision request. So contractor's here to discuss that.
All right.
Good evening, how you guys doing?
Good.
All right, basically,
Introduce yourself, please.
okay, Chase Kabinski, 462 Lead Mine Road. I'm the contractor at Petrogras on Route 15 here. And we had a little surprise when we moved the stream under the parking lot. When we got to the Mashpog roadside, when we dug down right here, we realized there's 2 catch basins on Mashpog Road. And they were feeding into the stream. It doesn't show that on the plan. When we excavated up that catch basin there, is this-
Yeah, you have a pointer, yeah.
that catch basin there, when we excavated up, we realized that the street drains were tied into it, and that untreated water was
I'm
going.
having trouble with your, here, try this one.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Thank you. Oh, much better, right here.
Yeah.
So, the road drains were tied into that stream, and it was covered with dirt, and it was never picked up. So when we discovered that happening, I contacted Becky and Butch Jackson of the DPW. We came down and took a look at it, and I think we were all under the consensus that we don't want that untreated road water going directly into the stream. That's what we've been trying to avoid the whole time. And it's really tough because of the grades. That's a very low spot by about, 700 to 692. It's an 8-foot drop in there, so there's really nowhere for the water to go. And this is a wetland up here, so really our two options were to either tie him back into the stream, which we don't want to do, or build some kind of a riprap basin in here. Let the water come off the street, filter through that riprap, and then kind of run itself out over here. And then we had a meeting with Art Allen from Ecotech, Butch Jackson, Becky, the engineer, and they drew up a little drawing showing the riprap kind of filtering the water and flowing
Right,
out
so
in that
this is,
area.
yeah,
This is Art.
This is from the engineer. The engineer drew this up for discussion. So it's kind of like a riprap settling pond area, and if it overflows, then it'll enter into the wetlands. So the way it's designed right now and how it was designed originally is that wetland is kind of connected to where this catch basin kind of overflow. There was an overflow there before, and that's the way it's designed now. So even if this fills up, it's gonna kind of overflow to the wetland, and the wetland overflows, it flows into the stream. So it seems like it's the best solution for this space, given what they have to work with, and before it was tied, no, it knew it was tied directly into the stream. No one actually realized that. So that change was unexpected, and there was a photo.
And we did ask Butch Jackson as well if we could get rid of, if he could get rid of those drains on the street. But because of the low spot of the road in the winter, there'd be quite a bit of water there, and
And it ice up.
it'd ice up, it'd be a danger.
Right, and it wasn't a large portion of the street, I think, that was being catched there, is what the engineer was.
I popped the
Prepping.
catch basin covers to make sure that no water was coming off of Route 15 or it's just the two basins on that low spot in Mashpug.
So this would have to go down, see how the pipe is really low? So even this is much lower than this anyways, so they kind of have to design something here. So this would go down, I forget how much deeper she said.
Yeah, we want to take a piece of pipe and extend it out of here so we can build up more of a ramp along the road, and then do a riprap basin in here and let the water basically flow through the riprap, let it build up in there, and then it would overflow into this wooded area here.
How deep is groundwater there?
It's fairly high because that perennial stream is running right, well, it was fairly high because the old stream that was running through was leaking everywhere. The pipe was corroded and rotted, so there was a lot of groundwater. Now that we have the new concrete pipe installed, I'm thinking that the groundwater won't be as serious as it was before.
Yeah, but it's still, what, within 18, 20 inches of
Oh,
the
yeah,
surface?
yeah, because this is a wetland throughout back here, so it's fairly close. That's a high water
I guess
table.
my question is, you're going to excavate that further. Are you going down to groundwater then? Is that?
Yeah, we would just excavate enough to get one piece of pipe away from the road and then let it kind of build it up with riprap.
Okay.
Will there be any safety issue as far as the basin is concerned, right next to the road?
No, we feel if we can get that piece of pipe away from the road, then we can build up that slope on the road, that we would, it would
Yeah,
be
they're gonna
safe.
rip-wrap the whole side, so it'll be set back a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, Art is taking a look at this?
Yes, yep, and that's, I gave you his comments. He provided a letter after our site visit. And he doesn't have any concerns with it.
Any comments from you, Becky? No?
Nope.
You want to hang on a second until we have a chance to look at what Art has agreed to?
It's in your,
It's in your packet,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, and it was provided in advance too.
Right.
Oh,
Number 4.
it's off the back, I think, David.
Yeah. Art is.
Yeah, flip one more page,
Yeah.
Stephen, I think.
Not in nice red, though.
Number 4 on the first page of his narrative.
Right.
Oh, never mind, number 6. I'm just looking to see if you're
You're
paying
kidding
attention.
me.
Well, it's
He's
both,
saying it on
Number
the
4 is the
floor.
other one.
both
No,
4
oh,
and
no.
6 is what he
Yeah.
commented on. It's
Oh,
the
all
stuff-
right, okay.
Stuff in bold.
Yeah, we can go to number 4 next.
It's,
Which slope is this? The one up against the road?
That would be the proposed one that we're going to do.
That
Yeah.
would be protecting the road.
Correct, yeah.
That's this one that we're talking
Yeah.
about. Thanks.
oh, I see, this is his comments on the whole thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Eric, any comments?
No questions.
Steve?
Good.
David?
Oh, so,
I'm good.
So, do I have,
Well, do you, there's 2 things to discuss, so that's one of them.
Yeah,
If you
okay.
want to vote on that as
we should
separately?
keep the 2 items separate, I think,
Okay.
Becky.
Yep.
All right. Let's do this one first. Do I have a proposal to amend the order of conditions?
I'd like to move that we do amend the order of conditions as indicated by the combo drawing that was included with Art Allen's
Letter?
letter and drawings dated October 10th,
Yep.
2019.
And this,
Need to
just want to add, the change will be reflected in the as-bills when,
Right.
so we'll have that on record.
I second that.
Second? Any further discussion on that one point? All in favor? So we're all set on that,
Great, thank you.
okay? Now, what's the other one?
All right, the next one is the Mass DOT head wall, which is where that, what we just went over is where the stream enters the property.
Right.
Now where it exits the property, when engineering was done on this, they used the best guess where the stream exited the property. Well, they were off by about 25 degrees. So if you look up here, this is where they thought the stream exited the property, and they designed a Mass DOT head wall to go like this. Well, Route 15, this plan really doesn't show up, but Route 15 is like right here. And this, we had to excavate down. We tried doing it, and it was about 20 feet in the ground, and the road was right off of it. And it was a real safety hazard to do it. Like, we couldn't do shoring or drive piles up by the road because we would actually undermine the road when we did it. Well, when we did our investigative work and we dug down that deep, we found the actual stream location, which was off from right here, and it's actually right here. So when we found that out, we realized that we could turn the head wall. Instead of it being like this, it was going to be like this now. And we could move it off of the Route 15, so it won't be such a steep grade down to the top of that stream, and it'll be a much easier wall to install. And what's holding this whole process up is the position of National Grid's power poles right here. So it can't be done until National Grid actually does their work, which they've installed the new poles as of last Friday, and they ran the wires today. So we're waiting on Verizon and Charter to do their work, and we're hopefully within the next 4 to 6 weeks, that's wrapped up, and we can get this head wall in. But it would be moving the head wall from right here to right here, which would have less of an impact on that stream, and it would be a much less slope coming off of Route 15.
Can you describe again, Chase, how it's going to be less steep? I don't understand that.
When Route 15 was right here, and this head wall was like this, we didn't have much room right here. So the slope came off of Route 15, and it dove pretty quickly.
It was straight down.
It was fairly straight down. It was truly kind of a safety hazard. We could not, the concrete, we excavated out, and the concrete guy showed up and said, I can't send my guys down there. And that's when we realized we had a problem. So we moved, by in a good way, we figured out where that actual stream was, and we were able to pitch it this way. So now we have from right here to the top of 15, which is right over here, and we can grade that out a lot more gradually to the top.
Sounds good.
Comments, Becky?
I don't have any concerns with it. I think it, the less steep the grading there, the better, and it's better
Yeah.
for stabilization.
Yeah.
Long-term for the site, I don't think that relocating the head wall has any impact on stream.
It also moves it away from Route 15,
Yes.
which is a bonus too.
Yeah.
Right.
I do, actually, could I, if you don't mind, I do have one comment. As you mentioned stabilization, there's a lot of exposed soil on that
Yes.
site right now. What's going to be done to stabilize stuff before winter?
Okay, so here's where we're at right now. We just, as of about 2 weeks ago, the stream is now flowing redirected through the parking lot. It is there's a temporary pool. This retaining wall is in right here, and the water is flowing out of this, and it is entering a pipe right around here. Now, has screwed us up this whole time was National Grid with this pole.
Right.
We thought by the time the stream was moved under the parking lot, we would have this head wall in and it would be flowing. But what's happening, National Grid holding the project up, it held this head wall up. Now Arthur gave us permission to do some work in here, remove a lot of this soil. We were gonna leave the pipe there, try to get all the dirt around it, and then stabilize that area if that pole hadn't been removed. Best case scenario, in 4 weeks, that pole's gone, and we can stabilize that area with loam, and then the straw mats, we were gonna put all those straw mats over all the exposed area.
Wow.
Yeah. We
Which
had
was a lot. Yeah.
Okay.
Could I just follow up on that, just clarification? As long as you're still working on an area, you can not necessarily stabilize it, because the assumption is you're still working on it.
Yep.
If it sits unworked on for 14 days, then it's got to be stabilized.
Yep.
As per your SWIP.
Yeah, that's
So
correct.
are you factoring in, like Stephen said, you've got piles everywhere?
Yep.
And is that 14-day being considered?
It is, and we just remediated a lot of the piles as of about 3 or 4 days. We have a pile of asphalt in front of the building, and then we have a pile of sandy fill, which we've been using on, like taking dump truck here,
Okay.
and using it to build up grade. But we have been remediating the piles as best as
Okay.
possible.
There's a lot.
That's-
As we
that's-
drive
and
by.
I'll tell you what, it's been a very technical
Oh,
site. I mean, that stream remediation was a really difficult thing, and a lot of it was done in the spring when the groundwater was really high, and we were fighting water.
yeah, I watched that.
You knew what it was going to be like when you saw that giant pothole at the opposite end of the
Yeah,
facility.
exactly. Yeah, that's, yep.
There were no surprises.
No, no.
Any other comments, inputs, questions?
First of all, I'd like to have a general agreement for that other amendment that we do move that wall.
Yep.
Yep.
Because, there were 2 points that were brought up. We've already moved on one of the points. We should move on the second one. And I would make that as an agreement amongst the board that we do have that minor revision accepted.
Okay, I don't have any problem with that.
We have to have at least,
Right.
You're making a motion?
sure, I'll make it a motion.
I second that.
Discussion? All in favor?
I think we discussed it.
All right. Set?
Yep.
Thanks, Chaz.
All right, thank you.
Thanks,
Get in
Jason.
trouble, come on back, Chase.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, thank you, guys.
Have a good night.
We'll see.
Nothing on TV, Phil?
I'm sorry.
I was just saying, you're here again, I was just. Yeah.
Every other Tuesday night, his
yeah.
car brings him here.
No, I thought I was on the docket, but I am on the docket in the old business.
And yeah. Beck, what do you want to do next?
2 Lead Road, 645.
All right. 6:45, notice of intent DEP number 300 dash, do you have a number?
We do not have a number.
PBA, continued from October 1st for 2 Lad Road landscape restoration, A Rivers.
Well, I'm E Rivers, so I'm Erica Rivers of Two Lad Road.
Erica.
So since he flubbed up last time, I'm like, all right.
Change that letter. Change that letter.
Exactly. So we went home.
You got
and
it.
described
I
the
changed
plan.
it.
First of all, I'd like to say that you're very lucky to have Becky on board. She's like a walk-in plant dictionary. She came to my house, she goes, well, this is that. I'm like, oh, really? I thought that was a weed. So you're very fortunate to have her. Not only was she a walking encyclopedia of plants, she was also very helpful in helping us figure out what to do. First of all, we had, as you know, in the past, we had no idea that those were wetlands. So we both got very educated on it. So what we decided was, there are a couple of,
Is that pointer working?
You know, this, yeah,
Yeah.
give her that one, Eric.
It's just a trick we play on the people.
That one works, but
know.
not well.
am I not turned it on right?
There you go. I
you
see
go.
the light.
Where am I? Oh, there I am, okay. So, right in this area here, there's already new growth coming up, and Becky took some pictures of it. We actually have, I believe, approximately 2 or 3 new maples coming up, which was awesome to see. All this area has filled in with wild flowers and so forth. In this area here, we still have some, logs and stuff to remove, which we're planning on doing hopefully before the cold weather comes. So when I talked to Becky, I think what we decided to do is, and her plan's a little bit better than mine, we would plant, like in this area, right, Becky? Over
Well, that's
here.
the
Here we are.
wetland,
Okay,
yeah.
So over here is, this is where all the wildlife has grown back in, the maple trees and so forth. So right here, the X is the tree, the circle is the shrub. So in this area, we thought we'd do tree, shrub, tree, and then there's new growth in this area as well. And then as you go down, again, a shrub, a tree, and then, 1 or 2 shrubs over here. She suggested that maybe we could do like, some red maples, or if you guys have another, suggestion, that's fine. We're very, new to this. I can tell you, I buy a plant and it just dies, so I don't buy any plants. So this is where Becky came in handy. And then maybe for the bushes, we would use satisfra, did I say that right?
No, the other list there, the
Oh,
shrubs.
Oh,
Yeah.
service berries, maybe winter berries, that type of thing, where the shrub part is. So that is our plan. And over here, we have like a pipe that comes down
Yeah, it's
right about in
here.
this area, yeah. So it's just where the water goes. So what we plan on putting around there are some rocks, like some, white rocks, I don't know what they're called, but.
Right, something like riprap,
Yeah.
just for where the gutter's coming down from the house. and the
Right,
garage.
right.
It's a perimeter drain too for the basement probably, right?
Not this one.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
there's a couple in the back here that come further down,
Yeah.
and that's the perimeter drain. This one is the
From the
roof.
downspouts?
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that's coming out, and we're just gonna put some, rocks there. We were hoping to, be able to do this, because now's a good time to plant, but we don't have an EPA number, and Andy did send in all of that paperwork, so I'm not sure why you don't have a number.
Okay.
So we're basically waiting for you guys to say that looks good, and to get the EPA number, clean up that area where there's still some, logs, trees, whatever you want to call them. If it doesn't get done, before the cold weather really sets in, then we can just start, in early spring, like April or May, that type of area. That's my plan. How'd I do?
Did a good job. You did a good job, yeah. Right. So I went back out,
The pictures.
met her out there, right, we looked at it. I mean, there are a good amount of saplings that are growing back in, a lot of, herbaceous vegetation, some shrubs growing in, a lot of sweet fern I noticed on the slope there. So that's kind of coming back good. So at the last meeting, the last time they came in, what had been discussed was doing a substantial amount of trees. There was a lot of discussion from the board, maybe not doing that, revising a planting plan, include some shrubs. So I went out and we kind of came up with this idea to kind of address the comments at the last meeting. So it was a revision of maybe we didn't need as many trees in there. So we incorporated some trees in some areas that we thought could take advantage of that for the shade, and then some shrubs, a commitment to not, go back down and cut in that area, and maybe just, maintaining the upper part of that slope where the parking area is.
Right, and just basically, if that got too high, just kind of like, obviously, you don't want it overgrown, just kind of like maybe weed whacking just the top of it, just to bring it down to a normal length, so it's not, being like a weeping willow into the driveway. Because we do park a vehicle, right over here, right, Vic, is that where I am?
Right.
Yeah, so we do park a vehicle here. It's not we don't have a very big driveway for 3 cars, and soon we'll have 4 once the teenager starts driving.
So maybe they can maintain that slope that was created when the house was put in, but leave everything at the bottom of the
Right,
slope.
right, exactly.
So,
Yeah,
right.
just like I
Good.
said, just do
Yeah.
some weed whacking
So
there.
we are waiting for a DP file number. We did contact them. They should be looking at everything soon and getting that
Okay,
over, so.
all right. And if if you want us to wait till the spring, that's fine. You tell me what's better, because you have the green thumb, I don't. So, that's it.
Yeah,
And then
maybe
once it's done, so say we plant in the spring, and then when you guys come back out, so explain how that goes.
Yep. Right, so you have a valid permit, and then once the project's done, with restoration planting, we usually keep that open for a couple years to make sure the plantings take and the
Yep.
area's grown back in. And then we would issue that certificate of compliance that releases the order, so.
Okay, all
yeah,
right,
Yep.
all right. So the.
Not 8 years, just a couple years.
Yeah, okay, yeah, all right, so like the warrant's open for like a year or
Right.
two, that type of thing? Okay, all right.
So we'll take a continuation now? What do you want to?
Right, you can't close on it, we don't have a
yeah,
file
yeah,
number,
right,
but
okay.
Becky, what about the area back here? Because I noticed there was a big pine tree that came down.
The big pine tree was back here further.
Uh-huh.
I mean, there is a lot of trees back here. This is growing in as well. There was the area where there was the kind of burn area. That would all be left. So you can add some plantings back there if you want, but it is growing back
Yeah.
in too.
Okay.
So.
I guess we'll just take a look at it after they get these in, and, yeah, all right.
And you think the rock that they're proposing to put in is gonna stabilize that area? Because those pipes seem to be eroding the soil away. So will that stabilize that area and keep it from?
Well, I think so. Usually that's what we see
Yeah.
at those pipes, those outfalls, those kind of splash pads. So I think if we, give enough detail and kind of help them oversee how it goes in.
Okay.
I think that'd be fine. The other ones, we weren't gonna do anything for, those, the existing kind of drainage ones. It was just this one, which was the roof one that looked like
I didn't
it.
see any problems with those.
Yeah,
That
it's
one
just
right
this
next to the
one.
park.
Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna comment on the same thing, because it is very steep there,
Yeah.
and there's,
Right,
The
now you're
stone.
going to ask us for a continuation because we don't have the number to the next
Yes.
meeting.
we can't even open it.
Yeah,
We already opened
we already
it.
opened it the
It's
last.
already open, I just
Oh,
need your.
I'm sorry, you're right.
So I can't get your approval until we get the EPA
Yeah,
numbers, is that
so,
how it works?
Yeah.
okay,
All right, so I have to come back like in 2 weeks again, or you'll call me?
Well, do you have any comments on this amount of planting or anything, or do you
No, we're all-
feel
all
okay
set.
with
We're all
it?
set,
So,
I'm-
okay,
I'm
well,
good with it.
So basically, the plan's been approved,
Yeah.
we're just waiting for that EPA number, and then you can
right,
call
and
me.
but you have to ask us for a continuation in order for
Okay,
us.
but before we get that far, we should give her some assurances. First of all, I feel confident that we can give her the assurance that the plan will be accepted the way it is.
Okay,
And secondly, I think that we should give her the assurance that there is no expectation of doing the planting this season. First of all, it isn't long enough growing season to really be able to make the plants viable. And
Okay.
secondly, the availability of plants at this season is not that good.
right,
Whereas in the springtime, everybody's got 1,000,000 of them and you can get your choice.
right.
So
Those are good points, Dave.
when you come back, we can open it. And when you come back, I would like to be able to say that at least some of us will agree. I can't speak for others, and we can't take a vote
Right.
because we don't have that DEP file number.
Does she actually need to come back the next time if we don't have any specific questions?
I don't think she needs to come back even.
So I just say, can I have a continuance, and you'll call me with an EPA number?
Yeah.
Is that how I'm supposed to ask it? Okay.
Once the Department of Environmental Protection number comes back.
Yep.
We can open the case, and we can take a vote on the case, and then we can close the case,
All right,
regardless of whether you're sitting with us or not.
or not, okay. And
There
then
is
Becky
one
will
more
call me.
comment I have. The removal of material So you mentioned that there's still stuff that needs to be removed.
Yes,
What,
yep.
do we really want them down in there?
Right
Can some
now?
of that stuff stay? Or is it slash that needs to be removed, or what?
I mean, there was some
Trees.
larger trees, no, there was still a good amount of slash that needs to come out. The slash
Right.
definitely needs to come out.
Right, but the trees, the bigger trees, can't they be left?
Oh, they can. We said that they can leave some of the bigger ones.
Right,
if
so
they
what I'm
want.
talking about is, you call it slash, I'm just calling like, you know, big
Branches.
branches and
Right,
stuff like
yeah.
that. That's what I was referring to.
Okay.
But there's, as far as the
Yeah.
big logs, there's that only big oak tree in that area, right?
Okay.
All
And the
right.
rest of it, like I said, was just big branches, so.
So now are we set?
Just one more thing. This has not been elevated to the federal level, so you're not dealing with the EPA, they're the feds. You're dealing with the Department of Environmental Protection, and they're the state. Just so you don't tell people that the EPA is after you, they'll go, oh, what have you done?
Okay, all right, so, so I guess I'll ask for a continuation until Becky calls me. Is that what I'm supposed to say? Okay. All right, and then once I get yours, we'll start quote-unquote planting in the spring, or should I come back in the spring and say, we ready to go? Or just do what I have to do in the spring?
Yeah, we can talk and
Okay, you'll call
figure
me.
that
All right,
out
sounds
and-
like a
yeah.
plan.
All in favor of a continuation? Thank you.
Okay, all in
Yep.
favor of my
Yep.
plan, that's kind of a
Yep.
yes too, right?
Yep, yep, yep.
All right, sounds like a plan. And then we get Steve up the road to say, okay, where should I do this? So, all right, awesome, thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Yep. See, I did much better than he did.
Sorry that we scared him not to come back.
God, yeah, it was all rattled up. It's like, you go, I'm not going, they don't like me.
Thank you.
All right, we'll talk to you guys later.
We have old business for 31?
Yep.
Okay. DP file number 300-1021, River Road, Pine Lake Campground.
So before we get started, I just want to say, we had our pre-construction dam removal meeting on Friday. They actually took the dam out on Friday. Scott Morrison sent me a report today, this evening. I can pull it up and show you the photos. It actually looks really good. I saved it.
I'm sorry, Rebecca, could you say that again, please?
Scott Morrison sent his report after the
Just
dam removal.
Just that last part?
It looks really good. The dam
Okay.
removal came out nice.
Thank you.
Oh, that comment doesn't count because you didn't introduce yourself.
See, he doesn't understand our humor and we don't understand his.
Well, actually, so, I mean, I printed them, they're not in color, because it would have taken forever. but-
Remember, she's a
And they're not
non-voting
stapled, there's no
member.
staples in the thing, so if you want to take the top two and pass them down, you can see those.
Or you can show us pictures.
Yeah, I didn't save it from my email, but I can,
Oh.
Top two and pass it down.
You got it, bud. I may have stolen one of yours. I did. It's one of yours.
You're stealing my material. There you go.
it's easier to see in color, so. So here's on the side, here's where the dam was. Scroll down, this is the new stream channel coming down. So this is right where the, you can see maybe some old, yep, right there, where that crossed. So I think they did a really nice job there with getting that stone in there and lowering that down. You know, here's a view coming back a little bit. You can see the side. They've got some stone. They had the seed mix on site, so that's underneath. They loamed, seeded,
Yeah.
and they've got the blanket on top. So there. So and here's where you could see what it looked like before with the boards on there. So I mean, I haven't gone out there since then. This just came in tonight, but I'll take a run out there and take a look at it. So. Everything went according to plan. One small minor thing, which I don't think is a big deal. I think there was a small birch tree that was attached to some of the concrete, so that kind
that's
of
it.
came out. Yeah. So that's all that was noted in there. So I think that was a good outcome there.
All right, and is that it for Pine Lake, or do you have anything else?
Well, yeah, you have in your packets, and I gave it to you in advance, you have information from the arborist.
Okay, yeah.
Yep, so I gave that to you. And this was for, going back to what was originally asked for, was having a third-party arborist look at that. So if you wanted to discuss this proposal from that arborist amongst yourselves, and if you'd like to move forward with having a third-party arborist go out and monitor the trees as we previously discussed. I think you might have
Okay,
missed
yeah,
that
yeah. That was, yeah,
meeting.
yep.
So I don't remember if you guys have, I printed them in case you need them, the items that Dave brought up at that meeting. Do you want me to, I have copies, I didn't know if you brought them with you, if you want me to pass those down.
Yeah, I didn't bring
Okay,
mine
so
with
pass
me.
that down, that's one set.
One set.
And this is,
Set.
and this is relative to the,
This is,
More than one here.
oh, sorry.
moving from a memorandum of understanding to a letter.
Correct,
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah.
So Becky, I had some comments about, this is the same one that you sent out originally, right?
Correct. So you have what Dave drafted,
Right.
and then Phil's kind of memorandum there too. I didn't know if you brought your past ones with you, so I just wanted to print everything in case you had questions. I don't know if everyone's received a copy, if you want to keep passing those down.
Eric, you got one?
I gave Eric mine. I'm that kind of guy.
Very
Dave,
generous.
We don't need any more. I don't
Dave?
think. Dave's got one right in front of him, right, Dave?
No, you have to send one down.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so how did we work out the payment of this? Because I thought there was some question about actually being able to use WPA funds.
Well, I think you can use them, so you have to vote to approve using your funds for third-party review. It has to go to the Board of Selectmen for approval as well.
Okay.
So there's two sides on this proposal from the arborists. So the first one didn't include the follow-up site visit and summary. So that is on the back side of that.
Okay.
If you want to look at that. And you were provided a copy of his resume as well.
Yep.
Have we used David before?
We have not used him. He came highly recommended from another arborist.
Yeah, so,
Go ahead. I was going to say, I had an initial site visit with him and Phil about 2 weeks ago.
And what were your feelings on him?
I think he's highly qualified. I think he, yep. So as a reminder, the intent, what was discussed would be that, because some of that work did occur, can't tell right now if there's actual impact, we would have this reviewed, and then if there was some type of impact from that work, then we could have that mitigated for impact within jurisdictional areas. If there's no impact, then there's no concern, no additional mitigation that would be needed, and this would be one way to
So
find that out.
what would the timeframe be on this? See, follow-up site visit 2020, summer, fall? Is it going to go past that?
Be for 3 years.
That's what I'm looking
Twice for 3 years. That's what's on here, but that can, that's up for you to discuss.
One of the biggest tree expert groups in the entire Northeast is Bartlett. And he shows on his resume that he was one of their people for a lengthy period of time.
so I am still struggling a little bit with this. It's approximately the last paragraph of number 1. it says any additional impacts to the observation area from construction-related activity. For example, tree loss from other than natural disease, or tree loss from other than storm-related causes, or tree loss other than caused by construction disturbance activity will be mitigated by PLRV pursuant to the mitigation and restoration plan. That sounds to me like tree loss caused by construction disturbance activity is not included in this. Am I not reading that correctly?
You're looking at,
So it's number one,
Yep.
basically the last paragraph of that. It
Oh,
starts
Phil,
with
you don't
any
have a
additional
copy of yours?
impacts to the OA.
I did not bring a copy with me.
It's right here.
Yeah, I'm going to give it to him.
Oh, okay.
It's his copy. Eric.
so
And I'll share with Stephen. He's talking about specifically that page 1, Phil.
And this was something that Phil had kind of added to what David had originally said. David's comment was just additional impacts to buffer zone or riverfront area tree loss will be mitigated for. And I think what Phil was trying to do was put in some caveats as to what he was going to mitigate, what types of tree loss he was going to mitigate. But it concerns me that I'm just,
Yeah.
it's a little hard for me to understand exactly. Are you saying that construction disturbance activity, if the tree loss is caused by your construction disturbance, that's not
It
going to be
says
covered?
tree loss other than caused by
Yeah.
construction activity. To me, that means if it is caused by construction activity, it will be mitigated.
Okay.
If it's caused by other than construction activity, then I'm not responsible for it.
That's the way I read it. But
Okay.
This is no longer a memorandum of understanding, right?
It's a lack of understanding?
No, it's,
Stephen,
council has told us we are not, okay.
Yeah, but that's mincing words. What we're
Go ahead,
trying
I'm
to do is
sorry.
hash out the detail.
Well, no,
of-
okay, my point is, we have the ability to make this say, if you need it clearer, more clear, then we can do that. We don't have to use these words,
Right.
right?
Yeah, it's not my words.
Well, just what I'm saying is that if there's a problem with something that you don't understand, then
The man who wrote it is here.
I know, because we're
So
going
he
to
can
issue
help
this.
us to
So I mean,
legalize
here's
it.
an example. What I'm concerned about is that a whole lot of trees were taken down that weren't supposed to be taken down. Because of that, you've got some trees that are left that are now exposed to weather, wind.
Right.
That would not normally, those trees would have been fine, except now they're the only tree left standing. And so there's a good chance that they're going to come down in a big windstorm. So that's one thing. So saying that you're not going to mitigate tree loss from a windstorm, the problem with that is that the reason why that tree ultimately ends up getting lost is because you removed all the other trees that were around it that were helping provide an environment that would prevent them from, they're not all going to blow down together because they're, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So that's one
absolutely.
thing. The other thing is, all the topsoil got stripped off. So that in itself could have compromised all the trees that are left there. So we don't know what's going to happen. It's one of the reasons why we're doing this, is because we're concerned that, a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, all those trees die because, because they were left in this condition that is preventing them from getting the nutrients that they need, or providing the environment that they need to survive. So that's my concern. So I just, we went from, Dave's very basic statement of saying that, additional tree loss is going to be mitigated to, well, if it's this or this or this or this or this, we're not going to mitigate it. But, if it's just construction activity, I'm not sure how we're going to determine.
And who's going to tell you what category a tree,
Right,
that tree
right.
falls in.
Right.
So how, I don't know how we're gonna make this determination that it's.
Would
that it's
David be able to help us with that? The arborist that we're.
That's exactly what my point was. I was hoping that by having the arborist come now, do an evaluation. Then the arborist comes back and does an evaluation a year from now. He's going to say, you know, that tree is in danger because that root structure was compromised earlier. That's what a tree guy is supposed to be able to do that we all can't do. So that was one of the reasons that I wrote my basic thing like that. Because my anticipation is, I hope I'm wrong, but my anticipation is that because of some of the surface configuration that had to be done in order to get the water and the wiring, you know, the electrical work and the sewer work and the drinking water in place, there had to be some of this work done, and some of those trees' roots probably got compromised, as well as taking down some of the trees from a bunch. I mean,
But to get to Steve's point, how.
the
we need
arborist
to-
should be able to tell that.
And to be able to say a year from now or 2 years from now, if he's following this process for us, this project, that he can answer those questions. And so we need to come up with some wording that's different from this, that says that an arborist is going to evaluate the reason
Correct.
for the loss, and,
Correct.
and they will be mitigated if.
Once we have an agreement between Pine Lakes and the Conservation Commission, then we know how to phrase the wording for the work that has to be done by the arborist.
All due respect, this is no longer a memorandum of understanding. It's a great start,
What-
but we do not need an agreement between
Did you
them.
get an
We are
answer
going to
back from
give them
legal
an
on this?
order and say, this is what we're going to do.
Speak-
This is changed from a memorandum of understanding to us issuing something.
We haven't heard back from legal on this. Have not.
I thought we did,
I'm speaking with them tomorrow.
but he already said that
Correct.
he does not.
Recommend a memorandum of understanding,
right.
a letter
But he was going to give
or
us
enforcement order.
a recommendation on how we should proceed.
Okay.
Now,
Okay.
The nuts and bolts remain basically the same.
Exactly,
Right.
and that's,
Should
but
be.
Steve brings up a good point, and we
Yes.
need to consider that.
I think you need to, as a board, establish what you're looking for, and if these are the things that you do expect that maybe would be in a letter.
So, could we do a little homework and make some changes and recommend them? You know, I mean, you,
I thought that's why it had been given to you guys 2 weeks ago. So that people would look at it and say, I want to make some changes.
and Steve did that, and he's making some changes, and it was a good catch. Now we just need wording.
And I think we need to hear from legal to see what,
Yeah.
other than, we need to make it an order and not a memo of understanding. We need to hear what they have to say
Okay.
about this. Right?
Right.
Okay. So I would say all of us need to go back, look at this, and come up with what you want the order to say, and then at the next meeting, we hash it out and finalize it
With advice from legal.
with advice from legal.
Bill?
A few considerations. You're biting off a very large task with a lot of sticky wickets in it, in my opinion. For example, to address Mr. Chichester's comment about more trees falling in a storm because they're less protected, I personally witnessed anywhere between 12 and 15 brand new, not brand new, but viable, hardy trees cracking down the middle or at the top or the bottom over last winter. You could just literally sit in my office and hear the trees cracking, and that was before a majority of any construction work had been done. Secondly, I'll note that in talking with the arborists that I've come in contact with, the property overall has severe gypsy moth problems with the white oaks, severe problems with the hemlocks, the disease that is attacking the hemlocks. They're in various stages of going down through no fault of construction activity or tampering during the construction activity.
Right.
I'd also note that with regard to stripping the soil, what we've tried to do is not strip the soil. Rather, we've tried to conserve the soil. Because if we hadn't have conserved it, it would have gotten chopped up in the trenches for our water, sewer, electric, fiber optic cable, etc. And the topsoil would have been lost forever. Rather, now we have 25,000 cubic yards of topsoil that we're reapplying, and it's going in daily into our sites, in and around the trees, etc. And I think Becky may have seen a lot of loam going into the Paul Revere Square area just recently. So we're reestablishing, and down in other areas. So we're reestablishing the topsoil. I don't know if it's too little, too late. I don't know if that's, I know it's the right thing to do, but I don't know if that will temper or moderate or ameliorate the potential problem from the water levels and the water tracks being changed over a relatively short period of time, given the life of a certain tree. And then you run into the, for lack of a better term, the burden of proof in regards to, you know, do you have to know beyond a reasonable doubt that it was the construction activity that created the problem? Or is it a preponderance?
Right.
Or, you know, what is the level of having to prove or having to get you guys comfortable that, gosh, Moreau did that and he should pay? Suffice it to say, as I said in our last meeting, I am more than willing. I'm going to replant so many trees there. I've committed, I think, in writing to over 300. And I want a park that is filled with trees. I don't want a barren park. And if you go and look at any of our websites and look at our parks and how we've restored and rehabilitated and replanted trees, for example, our park in Pennsylvania that's very similar to this, both in climate and in size, we plant on average 75 to 100 trees every year, whether we need to or not. And that will be the exact MO that we will take, a modus operandi, method of operation, that we will take as we steward this park into being a really gorgeous park. So to try to manage the restoration of trees that may have been caused by construction damage, in all honesty, I'm going to be planting so many trees regardless of whether they were caused by disease, by windstorms, or by construction activity. If the tree, or just because, I mean, there's a lot of trees out there that are not healthy. And they didn't just become not healthy, they've been not healthy for a long time, and we've made an attempt at trying to identify some of them, but it became too onerous. There was too many of them. My point is that I will, in all key places of the park, in the what I would call the high visual impact areas, I will commit all day long to planting as many trees as is prudent and as is attractive to make that a nice, woodsy, natural-looking park. And so, do I need an order from the Conservation Commission to do that? No. Would I be welcome to such an order if it was reasonable? Yes. But I'm here to say that the burden of trying to ascertain what is and is not caused by this or that is pretty onerous. So I'm here to say in good faith that we will be restoring in writing as committed to more than 300 trees once the spring comes and the restoration period is upon us. And we'll go beyond that, as we have at every other park that I've developed over the last 23 years.
But we're not talking about the park. We're talking only about the areas that are within the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission, which is within that 100 to 200-foot buffer zone area. That's all. The rest of the park, have at it. But for that portion, we feel that it needs a little bit extra, and that was one of the reasons I thought that having a completely non-arbitrary individual, not our board and not your board, but rather having an arborist come in and look at it and say, these things are all healthy, and next year these things are not, and I suspect that the reason for it is not the woolly adelgid, and it is not the woolly mammoth, it is something completely different. And what could it possibly be? Let that person accept the onus, and you and I would already have agreed upon it. Our board and your board would already have agreed, yep, this dude has got the credentials so that he can make that decision.
So he would almost literally have to map every tree.
Yeah, you make some good points.
Thank you.
I think, from the conservation's point of view, I think we need to speak with legal with regard to how we could go forward with this. In reading it, my quick was, every time I go in the woods with a different arborist, he'll tell you why what is happening, and they're all right. They're not wrong, but, so let us talk to him and get back together and see if we can come up with something worthwhile.
Okay, I'm totally open to it.
Yep.
I just think it's a pretty heady task to try to map as many trees as are there. I would estimate there's probably, in the jurisdiction, I would say at least 400 trees, maybe more, all along the lake shore, all in Paul Revere Square, all in Village Circle.
Yep. Let us,
And so then you've got to get a handle, your arms around the status and the health of 400 trees. And I will tell you that the percentage of trees that would come up unhealthy, be it a year ago or be it now, would be a fairly high percentage. I would go so high as to say 35% of those trees.
Well, I think a piece of this is having an arborist tell us whether or not it's reasonable to do what we want.
right.
I mean.
There you go.
You're right. I mean,
Fair enough.
we are not arborists, but we know that,
Since this is old business, I'm going to keep it old business and
okay, that sounds
continue it
good, yeah.
on. Phil, we'll look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks.
Like I know you look forward to seeing us in 2 weeks.
And I'm all for that. My 15-year-old son and my 12-year-old daughter are against it, but if that's what it takes to work through this process, then let's do it. But I would just ask you to be expedient and have some sympathy on drawing this to a conclusion. We've been at it since Mr. Barnacle presented the MOU, I think 6 weeks ago.
Exactly.
And a lot can happen in 6 weeks.
Right.
And so I would
Well,
just.
this isn't holding anything up. This is just.
No, it's not-
going forward. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
I couldn't agree
we
more.
could figure this out in the next 6 weeks, or
All right.
just figure it out in 6 months.
I agree. Just don't let, it can't be the Chinese water torture.
I understand, and
Drip,
to
drip,
be honest
drip.
with you, when it was just a memo, I was uncomfortable with it, but I was okay with it. Now that it's turning into more of a legal thing, it's making me even more uncomfortable because of the vagaries in there. But the reality is, I haven't been here since day one, and I'm getting an education on it. So I think we should just kind of move forward today and get advice from council
That's
get
exactly
get a
what,
true understanding of exactly what his point is as to why this can't be just a memo that we can all agree that reasonable steps will be taken as opposed to an actual enforcement order.
And-
That makes me uncomfortable.
And please understand my willingness to participate is just, can we, as opposed to showing up every 2 weeks.
well, no, you proved that. The
Yeah,
day
no.
after my MOU came out, you
Yes.
provided your document.
Again, I'm going to try to attempt to close this.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
You must be getting used to failing.
I know, I am. At home all the time, too. Thanks, Bill.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. All right, because we are heading towards 7:45, and Eric has to leave,
Thank you.
okay, we are going to go to restructuring of the Conservation Commission as the next agenda item, because I want to have 5 people here when we do
Sounds
it.
good.
Yeah, okay. All right.
That's called using you as a captive.
That's fine.
No, he
Fine.
told me when he came in, that was what he wanted. We'll start with chair.
Excuse me just one second. I think the actual protocol here is that Becky takes over the meeting.
We can do that.
Well, that's the way it's supposed to be done. I
I
know
don't-
we haven't
would you
in the
read
past. Rules of order.
Rules of order? Okay, all right, doesn't matter.
No, I mean, I know, I'm
Yeah.
just,
Go ahead, Beck.
Steve?
We are on
That's why I'm gonna
television.
nominate you for chair, right there, Steve. You knew that.
that is not a good reason to nominate me for chair.
Okay, so
Go ahead.
for chair positions, any nominations?
I nominate Ed Goodwin to
Okay.
be chair.
Any other nominations?
I nominate Steve Chidester.
I nominate Steve Halterman. All right, Dave, where are you going?
He's going to nominate himself. Oh, no. He's the only one left.
No bed there before.
Steve, you interested in being
That sounds
chair?
like it's it. There's nobody else.
Actually, I'm not interested in being chair.
Okay,
Chair.
out of
So,
courtesy and
Yeah.
recognition of your ability and chairman material that I've been saying all along, I nominated you, but
Thank you. I appreciate it, but.
all right.
Okay. So for Ed Goodwin for chair?
I'm going to vote for myself.
And for Steve Halterman for chair? We have 2. Okay, so we have Ed Goodwin as chair. Any nominations for vice chair?
Will you take the position again as vice chair?
Yes.
I nominate Steve Chidester.
Okay. Any other nominations?
That's a hell of a position to be in. Nobody wants the job.
No, your nomination
Nobody else?
is a very
Okay.
good
All right.
one. I think
All in
that's
favor?
why nobody's
Okay.
seconding that.
Put your hand up.
I have to put my hand up.
Yeah, you can vote for
Okay,
yourself.
and then we have our liaison positions.
Yeah.
So we have Community Preservation Committee, we have Trails Committee, Open Space Committee, and the Sturbridge Lakes Advisory Committee.
Tree. Tree.
The representative for the trees, that's you.
Oh, for
First,
tree cutting
forestry?
plan.
Oh, yes,
cutting
and
plan.
forestry, yep, forestry,
Right.
yep.
I was wondering what you meant, trees.
I didn't know either.
Oh, because you're so tall.
Well, can we volunteer, or do we have to vote on these things?
Well,
I think you gotta do
figure out
both.
if anybody else wants a position.
No, we want to find out if anybody wants somebody else to be the position. Unless somebody wants to nominate themselves, we are nominating. Point of order.
I'm good with Halterman.
Okay, Community Preservation Committee, any nominations?
Ed Goodwin?
Okay. All in favor? Liaison for Trails Committee, any nominations?
Dave Barnacle?
Dave Barnacle.
Dave Barnacle.
All in favor?
Sounds like a railroad job.
That's sort of like a railroad job.
Open Space Committee, now we haven't had a member on this committee. Ed, do you want to talk about it at all? I know you're involved.
No, we haven't had anybody on open space, and we haven't had anybody on Lakes
Lakes,
Advisory Committee. We should really we've got trails, right? So we're all set. So those are the two that we need to.
Right.
We haven't had one on the lakes because the Lakes Committee has met on Thursday
Right,
nights in the
yeah.
past.
Yeah.
But since we meet on Tuesdays now, we probably can get someone to be able to go to those meetings.
I mean, I don't know how often they
Eric,
meet,
you
but I don't
interested?
think they meet very often.
Lakes or open space?
Lakes.
Both.
Yeah, no, I can't do both.
Well, they can if we vote for you. We are the king.
Not required quorum over there, right? I mean, I would be fine with volunteering to do either, whichever one is deemed more important by the.
Why don't we vote you on to the Lakes and you can go take a look at it and see.
Okay, that's fine. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Want to vote for Eric?
Yeah, all in favor?
Okay. Okay, I mean, I think the Lakes Advisory Committee's
Said those are on Thursdays?
correct. I can get the information for you and you can look into it.
They normally don't meet much in the wintertime.
Makes sense. It's frozen.
Well, because a lot of the people don't live
Oh.
in
Yeah.
Sturbridge.
All right, so, is that it?
Yeah. Oh, forest cutting plans, forestry.
Oh, I thought we
Any
said Steve
nominations?
for that.
Did you vote on it?
Steve, you want to do that, right?
Yes, I would do
All in
that.
favor?
Sounds good.
Paul, you want to be on open space?
Only if I can bring my children with me.
Yeah, you could.
Good night.
Congratulations on your offices for next year.
Thank you very much.
Recoding bylaws and regulations.
I happen to think 5 boys going to the Open Space Committee meetings would be really good.
Make them all members.
Only 2 are in town right now, so. But they need a lot of open space.
Well, Becky, where are we? We got Main
Oh.
Street,
What?
179 Main Street?
Okay, do you want to do that one now?
Sure.
Okay, so this one, we had a little discussion about it. I gave you an update at our last meeting. We're waiting on review of a final plan based off of a site visit. So I gave you, in your packet there, I gave you the draft permit with the conditions. I also gave you the plans that came out. So I thought it would be useful to kind of go over the plans a little bit and why that was what was created to address the upper parking lot.
What did you come up with about the drainage thing that we talked about, Becky? Just leave it alone?
I think that's fine. I mean, that condition covers everything, and
What I'm worried about is having it get lost in the maintenance.
right. Well, when we do reference the operation and maintenance plan, it is referenced, it means referenced in the permit. And, I mean, they have to follow that in perpetuity.
Okay.
And if they don't, then they can have repercussions. We do have inspections that'll occur, and we do ask that all the log sheets with the O and the M or O and M plan are sent to us. So that's typical for some of the commercial sites. We ask that those are sent to us at the end of the
So
calendar
maintenance
year.
of the roof drains is part of the operation and maintenance plan?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. It's the dry wells, the roof leaders and gutters and,
See, the dry wells are really what what my concern is, because it was admitted by Burton Engineering that he did not know what it would take for those to overflow. And we had the owner of the property sitting right here indicating clearly that routinely, right now, his backyard gets flooded. And we paid virtually no attention to that, because he wasn't down on the affected road.
so you're talking about over here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where the existing.
Well, I paid attention to that. I thought that was important. No,
Well, I have a real problem with that drain and that whole thing. And I kept pressing that because I was there during a storm and nothing got past that berm that they built. A small percentage of that water looked like it was coming out from under those dumpsters.
Yep.
So, okay, so they're gonna fix and have that water that goes under the dumpsters go elsewhere. But that, to me, when I sat there, I made a film of it, and we can all look at it, not one drop got past the small berm that I didn't even know was there until I was wondering, what am I looking at? That there's no, that the water was all flowing across into the storm drain. And the big berm behind it was capturing
Nice.
everything. Take care. And I kept pressing it, and I kept pressing it, and Burton said, okay, we'll raise it up. And now, I knew he wasn't, because he wouldn't put it in writing, and I know he knows that those were new from when this whole thing started. And I think that if we go with this plan, it has to be stated very strongly that if Blueberry Lane gets flooded, that we're coming back, and that this is not, like, somebody said we got one shot. No, we don't have one shot. We have, okay, if you're telling us that this is gonna be protective, which I can't see how it can be, I'm very worried about this, and I'm worried about them bringing in the lawyers and saying, no, you signed it. I am not gonna sign this thing just for grins. I hope I didn't already sign it. It's just not, it's not what he agreed to, and I kept pressing it at that meeting. And he said, okay, we'll raise it up, and then I would be happy.
Ollie, hide the document from him.
Say again? So I just am very nervous about the amount of water that's going in that storm drain. If he would agree to grind that small thing down, then I'd say it's got a chance.
But
So,
you voted for the plan. You voted for the plan. You voted for the plan.
when at that last meeting,
Yeah. Not the last
Because-
meeting, but the meeting before.
the one where he said he was gonna raise it, I voted for
The
it.
plan was approved. I'm the only one on the board that didn't vote for it.
I voted for it because he said he was gonna raise it.
I'm saying, I'm not asking you for your rationale. It might,
Okay.
any more than anybody else's, but.
So wait a minute, so
We
Steve, are you
can't sit
saying,
here and,
but is he saying that based on something, that was supposed to be a change that was implemented into the plan, based on the discussion
Yeah,
that we
that's why
had?
I voted for it.
yeah,
I
but
know
it
you're not
was-
asking
but
for
it was
my-
general, but it was, we will generally take care of the berm on the.
He did not say generally, he said
Well,
we
we said
will
we'd have a
raise.
site visit and make
Look at-
field modifications.
That's what he said he's gonna do, field
Right,
modification.
which means, and I said, you're gonna raise the drain, and he said, yeah, but we're not gonna put it in writing, it's gonna be a field thing. Well, I'll say, well, that's double talk, I mean, but anyway, that's my concern right now. Now that we're looking at a plan that did not include what he said he was gonna do, I personally, based on my observation, it was raining like hell, I got in my car, and I said, I'm gonna go see what's going on.
Yeah.
And I'm very nervous about it, because it was 100% of the water coming from the upper parking lot was going down that drain.
Yeah.
So, I hate to be a hard whatever, but I am
Well-
concerned.
Well, I think part of the issue with, if we just had them raise that drain, a lot of the water's gonna end up in the back parking lot, right? That system in the back parking lot isn't designed to handle the upper parking lot water. So what's gonna happen is it's gonna flow down into the back. So kind of what the engineers came up with, and I went to the site visit, was, like I was saying, this parking lot is kind of divided into 3 sections based off of the additional grading review and survey they did out here. So this portion of the parking lot's gonna come down, which it currently is, and it's coming underneath the dumpsters right here. But it was flowing back down to the catch basin.
Right, I
So there'll be a berm right here, and then this will be regraded, so that way water will flow down here. And then this portion of the parking lot, which is kind of here, will come down, and they're regrading here. So that way, because the water's coming down and it's flowing right down here.
What are they regrading?
The parking lot right here. So all of this water in this area, which is coming down around this, It's going right down to here. It's gonna hit this, and this is gonna be like a regrading in the parking lot. They'll repave that, so water will be directed, it'll come down this stone swale, and it'll go into this new basin here. So this new basin's gonna handle all of this portion of the parking lot. This portion of the parking lot will continue to come down here. And, I mean, they didn't want to have to raise that, and the engineer's like, well, almost 2/3 or half of this parking lot will go to this new basin, which I think is a really good outcome, because if we just put it all in the back parking lot, it's not gonna infiltrate, and it's gonna end up in the back.
Right. I think this
However,
is- yeah.
however, with the grate, like, well, if we blocked a portion of it, and that's on sheet 2, in these large storms that we get, what's gonna happen is it's going to, I mean, it's not all gonna be able to go
puddle there.
down. It's gonna puddle, and it's gonna get to that back berm, and it'll overflow into the back. So in those big storms, you know, a portion of it's gonna end up in that back parking lot.
But it dissipates, it doesn't go down to Blueberry Lane. That's the whole purpose of it.
Right, and a lot of it's gonna end up here, and if
Yep.
this, in large storms overflow, it'll come here. You know, we'll have this here too. We have the splash pad for the pipe, so I know it's not exactly the outcome of getting rid of the berm or raising the catch basin, but I think that this is a
Okay,
really-
I agree. I somehow missed that regrading,
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
that is
catches
gonna,
that.
That's pretty.
because
key.
I'm looking at the dumpsters, and I know that that was not a serious amount of water coming from there.
Right.
But it looks like they are gonna take care of that, and so,
I'm actually really happy about this, because I think this was the key flaw in all the previous plans, was that they weren't addressing what was happening in the upper lot.
Which is a
Yeah.
big portion of the
Yeah,
water.
obviously, I mean, look at the size of the upper lot versus the
Right.
lower lot. I mean,
now,
it's-
and just so you know, my initial comment was, if you change that flow, that it's not gonna go to Blueberry Lane, then that design of that, their gallery, whatever you call it, the storage underneath the parking lot would have to be rethought. I'm okay with this, the way that, because they are taking some of that water before it gets that catch
Yeah.
basin and moving it down into that thing, so.
So, and we will have oversight while the stormwater structures are being installed, to make sure that everything is done appropriately. That was one of the comments that Chuck had with the filter fabric and things like that. It's really important that it gets installed correctly.
Right.
The operation and maintenance plan does include some additional monitoring of that filter fabric, et cetera, some language in there. Did add some extra protective conditions in here too for during the winter with that back infiltration area, because that's really important that that stays open so water can infiltrate.
Right.
We also added in the additional monitoring for 2 calendar years to make sure that this system is appropriately working.
Right.
And if not, then they'll have to make some modifications to address that, so.
My hope is that all that soil under there is fill, that's going to have decent infiltration properties, and so that, you know, having a trench that size,
We'll capture.
yeah, we'll actually
Right.
capture it, and a lot of it'll flow out while the storm's happening, and it'll work even better than what it's designed to do. That's my
And I
hope.
thank you for that explanation of the
Okay.
parts to
Yeah.
settle me down a little bit. Hey, I'm passionate.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Great.
All right?
Yep,
Yeah,
I think
good.
we're gonna sign it now.
I'll sign it.
That's almost exactly the same lecture as you gave us 2 weeks ago, with exactly the same pointer going in the same direction.
You can't sign it? Or you're not gonna sign it?
Signing it.
Okay.
You could have started
And
out.
it's only procedural, but I know.
I know
I
it's
don't
only
need you to, there's
procedural.
3 here, so.
I'm indignant.
Yeah.
How'd you spell that?
Yeah.
You don't have to spell it, just scribble it across.
I'm indignant, but I'm gonna let them see if it works, and we're gonna be watching it, and if it doesn't,
We've got to get this done, we've got to do it.
we know where they live.
All right, moving on. So DEP file number 300-771, this is 36 and 38 Goodrich Road, Mr. Gunn. Do you remember this project?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this kind of fell off the radar. So just a quick, I was recently asked about this by the building commissioner, because he hasn't been issued a certificate of occupancy. And he's, he knew that there was an issue with conservation. So, all right, so 2007, project was approved. On the plans, it said remove the decks. 2009, he came back for an amendment with some retaining walls. One of the decks was shown as to be removed. 2012, he got an extension. His permit expired in 2016. Get that 4-year permit extension act thing. 2017, he submitted a request for certificate of compliance when Glenn was still here. Glenn had gone out, noticed that the decks were still there, a couple other things, plantings weren't done, recommended that, didn't sign a certificate of compliance. I had, when I started, sent him a letter following up on it. He did come to one of our meetings. It's in my file here. I have to do some digging, but I think it was our December 5th meeting. We had scheduled a site visit in January. I had gone out there in October. I don't think we had our site visit in January due to weather. We were going to reschedule, fell off the radar. It's been sitting out there. So he has a expired permit, didn't meet the conditions of the original permit and the plan. The decks, when he came to our meeting, he did say he wanted to keep those decks. And it kind of got left there. So the town wants to probably move forward with issuance of a certificate of occupancy or figure out what we need to do.
So we need a site visit.
We need to
Well,
restart the conversation with
What do we need
them.
a site visit for? To prove that the deck is there? Because Becky has already indicated the deck is there.
Right.
No, but I think we want to take a look at the rest of the property to see there aren't 5 decks down at the water. I mean, you don't know with Mr. Dunn what could have happened since you were there the last time.
Right.
I think it's a good idea to reorient ourselves to, and just to see
Okay.
it, the current conditions.
agree. I
and-
think maybe
Leaving the deck there is part of Mr. Gunn's orientation.
Right, but I do think you need to see the site.
We need to see it just to
Right.
say that, if we're going to say, no, you can't keep the deck, we need to all.
Right, and then you need to figure out how we're gonna do that too. So I can send him a letter, restart the conversation, contact him, say we'd like to do a site visit. I'll put it on our next site visit agenda, but we'll bring this back up for discussion because he does have an expired permit too, so we have to keep that in mind. All right, all right.
What's next, Birch Street drainage?
Birch Street drainage. A resident on Birch Street came in that had some concerns with drainage coming down the road. This person is next to 14 Birch. I think there was a long history with that. We issued a certificate of compliance for that at that time. We did note there was issues with the road, with runoff. This person, when she came in, she had some photos. Let me find my way here. So it's coming down Birch Street, going down the neighbor's driveway. There was a berm put up in between these two properties. I think it's 14 and 16 maybe. You're probably well aware of that. But the water's coming down past the berm and then getting onto this property, but then going into the lake. So it's carrying all sediment from the road, washing out on this property, onto this one, and going into the lake. We drove down it when we did our site visits because we were over there. I mean, the road's an issue. We know the road's an issue.
Yeah.
It's been an issue. If this person puts a berm up in front of theirs, it's gonna push the water down further. She asked that I bring this to your attention. I did tell her that, the road is an issue. It's a private road and really could use paving and some drainage structures and.
Every single one of the people on Birch Road who has come into us has ended up going back and building a berm in front of their house.
Right.
No argument here.
So, I mean, that's an interesting situation. It's a private road, it's impacting the lake, that's a no-no.
Yeah. But look at the water coming down.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
That's like
That looks a little muddy.
Oh, is that the same place we've been working on for years?
Yes, it is. We did a great job.
It's the road.
Oh, my God.
Oh, look at this.
But, so here's where it's
Holy
coming
cow.
off onto the,
man.
this is the abutters property, so it's coming down after where that berm ends.
Jeez.
So it's pretty bad. It's
London,
pretty
right?
bad, but it's,
Is that Pat Wondolowski's?
yeah, yep.
Wow.
That's
Oh,
terrible.
baby.
So what do we do?
You know, do we contact Cedar Lake Association to have, get them to work with the residents? Do we contact the residents?
That's
Do
a
we-
serious problem for the lake,
Oh, yeah.
Look at that sediment.
let alone the homeowner.
The only solution that we have, quite seriously, is diversion. Because there is no place to put a basin.
Right. Well, you could tar the road and put a couple of basins between properties.
The town could put some catch basins in,
Yeah.
but the catch basins, until you tar the road, are gonna
That's why I
pick
said-
up all of this.
That's why I said tar the road first, because tar the road, put the catch basins in, and it would be as good as it's gonna be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, right now, the only solution is to continue building berms and chase the water down the road.
But eventually,
So-
it gets into a bowl and it dumps out onto the lake. So there,
Well,
Right.
right, so if you come down the road further, I remember seeing this when I'd gone by before, I think there's on like the property line here, there's actually like a riprap swale that goes down to the lake, so I think everybody's kind of made their own little modifications to deal with the runoff coming down.
Right.
We're not getting the sediment out of the water though, which is
That's the
an
problem.
issue.
Yeah, that's a big
But,
problem.
right, everyone can put their own berm up, and we're gonna get it down to this little, nice.
Part of the problem is those red numbers. Because each one of those house lots is so tiny, there is not room for any remediation on any of those lots.
right.
I mean, they're barely big enough to be able to fit a broomstick on,
Where's the very lowest spot here?
right at the very bottom of the hill.
I think, yeah, I think here maybe is the
one
bottom.
more.
And then, this one, here?
It goes down and then it comes back up. so-
Right, I know, and I'm
Yeah.
trying,
Right about where number 20 is,
In 22?
yeah, and there is a drain right at the driveway of that house, and the drain does have a pipe, and the pipe does go directly to the lake. Now, we have never argued with them about cleaning out that pipe, and the reason is obvious, because it's carrying all of the silt, all of the fines, from the upper part of the road down to the bottom of the road, and then without any amount of cleaning, it's going directly into the lake, so it's filling the lake. So as long as that pipe is plugged, we don't have a problem with it. All the neighbors have a problem with it filling their backyard.
which lot showed all the water rushing down and,
That would be number 16.
okay.
We should make a
Roughly.
list of the roads that have this problem on our Great Lakes and send the list to the selectmen. Tell them it's time to get these roads tarred and professionally protect the lakes.
I can agree with that.
Yep.
That sounds like a great idea. I was just gonna say, we're almost to the point where we need an enforcement order to say that,
This is just, David
That
and I
road
have
has to
dealt with
be-
this for,
yeah.
I
But seeing
remember,
that picture of
I
that,
remember me giving you the dirt road handbook.
right, yeah.
This was 15 years ago. I was still at DEP and we
I
were,
thought it was Blue Highways, I thought,
I mean, we lived down there for a while.
Yeah.
Every other meeting, we had to go
I
there.
know, I remember. And I ran into Ed somewhere and he said, don't you guys have some kind of guidance? And we've got this great guidance and it's tough.
And it's like 13 residents on here. We could send a generic
can-
letter to all of them, just saying that the road's a concern and other people have gone through this process, the betterment process to get the roads
right.
paved with drainage structures, which is, an improvement all around. It's a concern here, blah, blah.
So Ed's idea of identifying all the places
Yeah.
in town where we have this situation, take that to the Board of Selectmen. I mean,
Yep.
I wonder, can we have it go to town meeting to subsidize,
That would be
partially
up to the Board of
subsidize?
Selectmen.
Oh,
Board of
like
Selectmen could do that.
Yeah,
they could
To
say it needs to happen versus.
Say it's gotta happen,
Yeah.
but, the town will chip in X amount or something, or do the work. I don't know. I'm trying to think of how to make it.
The way that it
reasonable.
worked
Work on Karen.
The way that it worked on Cedar Lake, on Mountain Brook,
Uh-huh.
is that they got, through the town, they got a bond to do it,
20-year bond.
20-year bond.
So they're paying it back, almost like taxes.
Yeah. I think there's an involvement with taxes.
Was that on the Karen Road that we went and
Karen
looked
as
at?
well.
Karen got one too.
That was nice.
So
Yeah,
it's
no,
the betterment process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a really nice.
Right, DPW worked
So
with
the whole
them,
town isn't paying for it, just the residents.
the people
That's
who
correct.
benefit from it,
And they're
yeah.
practically not, it's like it comes out of their taxes instead of type deal.
Right.
It's a really good deal.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, and it's gotta be done. Ever since I started on here, which wasn't.
Oh,
that
all
long
the
ago.
roads.
Well, I'll give you the first name that you can put on your list, South Shore Drive.
So, oh, yeah. That's good, right.
Well, we might have a new Slack liaison, which I think would be great. I think we've needed someone on Slack, and I think that each member, the head member of each lake association, I believe, is part of Slack, or there's some involvement with each
Okay.
lake
Well, he
association.
lived on one of the lakes for a while. Eric did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
So,
well,
so do you want? What do you want me to do? You want me to start working on a list of roads?
yeah, we'll start putting it together. Excuse me.
What do you want me to do about Birch Street right now?
Why don't we have a separate meeting one night when the commissioners get together and we come up with it, instead of burdening you with
Well, you
yet
can
another
email me
thing to
a list of the roads you think of that we can compile, if you.
What
Yeah,
we
that-
should do is
that
just
makes
for the
sense.
next couple of site visits when we're driving around, start listing the roads.
Yeah.
Because, I mean,
Because, I mean, it isn't like Becky has nothing else to do, guys.
no, I wasn't,
I'd love to just drive around all day. That would be nice.
Yeah, me too.
So the only thing I have left is the recording
you did.
bylaws and regulations, and you talked about that already. Is there anything else we need?
Right.
Want
well,
us to do.
Yeah. I mean, they're going
Doing
to.
it, I think is.
Right.
Yeah, I think Jean Boubon's kind of headed that project, and she wanted us to let you know it's going to happen. If you had any questions or comments on it, any concerns, we will obviously see what their draft is coming back. But right, it's more just renumbering things. They might have some recommendations, but we'll look at everything. So,
okay.
feel comfortable with that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Are you done, or you have
I just have a couple of small, quick updates, and then
Okay.
I'm done.
30
Making
seconds?
record time here. 158 Lake Road, we were having a really hard time getting the property owner to get back to us with the arborist recommendations that I gave him, the names. Multiple emails, we both emailed and called. Holly recently called and told him that he doesn't need to come to our next meeting, we just need him to say who the arborist was gonna be. He got back in touch with us. He's gonna have Tom Chamberlain do that arborist review out there for us. I did email him today to let him know that we received it and to, start that process and confirm that he's gonna do that. So we should have something hopefully for our next meeting on that. Mass DOT Cedar Lake, I met Raul out at 126 Westwood Drive yesterday to meet the new property owners.
Oh, good.
So they are okay with, what's going on with Mass DOT and them being able to access through their property. They didn't really have any concerns with time of year. I did tell them we'd like to get them going on it sooner than later versus
that's
in the
nice.
winter. So they are okay with that. They were kind of concerned about losing the screening, on the side.
Yeah.
And then obviously, Mass DOT will fix the yard after they go through, so.
Yeah, so they would lose a lot more trees if they don't allow them to cross their property, so.
Exactly, and we
so-
did tell them that too, so, right, but they, we did tell them too, there's a long-term plan, which they will come down, through that part, but, maybe that would include some new plantings and stuff like that, so.
Yeah.
So I did inform Mass DOT that today, I left a voicemail and an email just to let them know, so they can keep moving here.
Good.
We can get a plan.
Excellent.
Mass DOT has recently indicated that they should have the work scope for the short-term work for us to us soon, and they'll probably be scheduling a site visit at the end of October to be determined. Hamilton Rod and Gun Club, we did take a ride through that at our last site visit. They did end up hydro seeding the back. I haven't been back out there. It wasn't loamed or anything. I am gonna work on a summary letter. I just haven't had a chance to do it
Don't do it until Friday.
Oh, the big
I will
rainstorm?
have some pictures for you, because I will go back out there Thursday afternoon after the rainstorm, because when I went out this weekend, when I came home, the rivulets are showing.
Okay.
We saw that, but I have to say, it was so much better than the last time
It was.
I saw it. I was pretty impressed.
Nice to see green there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The
So,
crushing of the rocks inside of the detention basin
did that start?
hasn't taken place yet, has it? It hadn't the last time I went there.
Not the
don't
last
think so.
time.
Yeah.
You know, but I was going to include in that letter that as this discussed at the meeting, it's our understanding that that will happen as well
I
as. the
drove
lip
right
on
down
top.
to it in my Prius, and it takes up about 1/3 of the detention basin.
Yeah.
I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And the dip at the detention basin, which is lower than where the overflow pipe is, it's still there. I mean,
Well, they're going to have to make some modifications to everything, but I
Right.
don't think it's going
Yeah.
to happen now, but. 31 South Shore Drive, we had a site visit out there last week for the appeal with DEP and all of the interested parties. I think the site, Ed came with me, I think the site visit went really well. We should be hearing from DEP. I think they have, 70 days, but wouldn't
Yeah.
anticipate something to take that long.
I thought we looked really good.
who represented DEP?
Judy Schmitz,
Ah, a real person.
yeah. And she did indicate, too, that they lost about half their staff recently that have been relocated to other parts of DEP, so they're even more short-staffed right now, so.
Kidding me? Oh,
Yep.
jeez.
Yep. Just quickly,
think it was possible.
27 Lad Road, a complaint was filed in court. I will be going to a preliminary injunctive, is that what it, injunction hearing on Thursday.
Who filed it?
Town of Sturbridge.
Town of Sturbridge?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just
town
wanted-
council
yeah.
filed it. No, I had,
I was in here, I figured.
Yeah.
yeah, town council told me that I had to sign it, so I signed.
Good. No, I wasn't, I didn't want to sign it, believe me.
I didn't either.
I have a couple of
that's
things.
moving
When
forward.
you're done.
I think that covers the updates I was gonna give, so.
Thanks, Becky.
You're on.
welcome.
Okay, this is old business, has to do with the Breakneck Road Advantage tree guys went out there and cut those 7 or 8 trees down. And I was, I am proposing that we penalize them. I came in a little early, and I looked at our final bylaw regulations, and all that about the warning and the $300 and so on, all that's left is the $300 every day if the thing is not fixed, or multiple infractions can be included as $300. So whether if all that warning and all that stuff seems to have disappeared, maybe that was a town bylaw or something where it was progressive. I was just really confused when I came in and I read all the little tiny bit that's in our regs.
So,
Go back and look at it. No, I think it's in there.
Well,
no, we changed that. We talked to town council about that and changed it, so that way you didn't have to necessarily have it
Well, where is
structured
it?
as a first warning.
Where is it?
What? What, the reg?
In the reg, where is it that you?
I read all of the regs for the half hour before the meeting started, and all that verbal warning and all that stuff seems to have disappeared. It's just simply,
Find them after notification.
So
Right.
that way you can, if you go out and see something, you can find something
Yep.
right.
without having
So-
to have it be a
It can't be beyond how much per day?
300, and that's
Per violation.
correct. There's language, you have to read the language.
So
in
it's
there.
sort of like, it's like two different things can happen.
Yeah.
One is that you say somebody, I want that report, I want this plan by the 24th,
and 24th, it's not here, you say, okay, buddy, 25th, $300. Assuming there's like one violation. If there was a whole bunch of violations that we're waiting for, they could be $300 each every day. Or it's just simply multiple violations that you go out and you see, and it's $300 a piece. As I read that, the second sentence or the second part of that compound complex sentence.
At the bottom.
Yeah, I mean, yes. My kids might be listening. So I thought it was a little more
They came in, right?
no.
No.
No, they never did?
No.
So they're in violation right now? The
They
trees
took
are
the
cut?
trees down, they
Yeah.
cut the trees.
Yeah.
We looked at it as an after-the-fact filing because they weren't,
And did we
Right.
approve the after-the-fact filing?
yes.
And that's fine, but it's separate. It's a separate thing. They can file because it was determined by Becky and I, and that those trees were dead, and they were not having any impact to protect that little tiny wetland there. So we went out and we walked around that yard for quite a while, and we said, you know, we would have permitted this. The question then becomes, okay, now we've got that piece out of the way. There's advantage going in, clearly next to a lake, clearly next to a wetland, whack down those trees, didn't get a permit. Yes, it was permittable, but where's the deterrent here?
Right.
Just eliminate the one part of your phrase that said, yes, it's permittable, because that's ancillary to the argument. The argument is they came in and whacked down trees, they had no permit. They had not even asked for a look-see.
That's exactly right.
No argument. The question is, we've gone ahead and approved the work. And now we want to go back and refine it. And you've said that the trees were dead, or some, you know. I think if we're going to start finding, we should find more, a better violation, a worse violation. Is that the right one?
You know, if we only had a certain amount of fining time that we could spend, I would agree with you. I guess I wish that we'd have done it all at once, and we probably should.
Yeah, I did,
Because here's the way that DEP does it, and how I personally used to do it. Somebody would come in, they'd get caught doing something. I'd bring them in, and I'd look at it, and my staff would look at it, and we'd say, you know, this would be permittable, we probably would have tweaked this a little bit through a permit, but you went out there and you cut down the trees, or you bulldozed the wetland, or whatever it was you did. Well, not to bulldoze the wetland, but there were cases where it would have been permitted, but you got lucky. And there's no deterrent value to not fine a person for doing something without a permit, because that's what the law says. Now, and I'm not saying a permit for the permit part, the permit that allows us to review it, to make sure that it's done properly. And I know there's like a fine line there, and it was something that I had to deal with for the 10 years I was out there in Springfield.
Has
Having
anything
it
so much
determined.
as a note been sent to Advantage Trees saying, we disagree with you cutting those trees down before asking for a permit?
Well, we have a draft that we're working on that I was gonna send out as a kind of summary of what happened and a reminder of what our jurisdiction is, and to check with us prior to doing it,
What
to
do you wanna do?
establish.
What do you want to do?
Well, I think that, one, I think the letter needs to get sent to say, this is
Yeah, no,
what it is, and
yeah.
that we have it in writing now, because now you know, you can't say that you didn't know.
Well, we
the
had it in
changes
writing the
or
first time we
whatever.
fined him, and he brought us into court, and we found out that Glenn had made out the paperwork to the wrong person. He made it out to the owner of the company instead of to the company or something.
Yeah.
And so the judge threw it out. But he already had been warned about working in a wetland
Yeah, I mean,
in Sturbridge.
Well, I think,
Right.
right, I think as things come in, this one aside, we have to make that decision at that time. And
Wasn't-
either if I go out on a, I think that it needs to be discussed by you, but, if I have the ability to do it and go, when I go out there, so say I go out there and that happens, tell them at that point in time, or it's, you need to come to a meeting, discuss with the commission, and you guys determine that you're gonna issue a fine. But I think that moving forward, you need to, maybe set a precedent and be consistent with that, and
Well, what about, you've got the one on Big Allen?
you get an enforcement order.
Yeah.
But
and
there was
he-
no fine
he's-
at that time.
He's clearly, he went in and cut all those trees down as clearly as this, and we haven't done anything with that.
What's the timeline on this one?
Well, actually, is this 22 breakneck? This thing where the trees from Advantage?
No, it was 30. We just looked at 28.
So this wasn't one of the ones,
No, 22 down there's a septic.
so did we do that the last meeting where we,
After the fact for that one,
I think we
yes.
did, yeah.
yeah.
I thought I thought that was continued.
No.
No.
Did that happen at the October 1st?
You know,
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's a little dicey that we've already, but, there's a precedent for that, you,
What do you guys want to do?
I agree with Steve that this is, to me, this is egregious because they know better, and we know they know better, and they keep doing it. So we need to, I don't know that we can do it after the fact. I think at an absolute minimum, they've got to be notified that if this happens again.
Yep, they will be.
They're going to be fined.
Right.
And
I agree with that.
that's a minimum. Whether we can go back and retroactively fine them, I'm for that, but I don't know that we can do that.
it might be a dicey thing. Okay.
Will be fined and/or further enforcement
And
action taken.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, no.
Their thumb in their nose.
Could we mention that the fine is $300?
Per
Just so that
violation.
he starts getting the message
Yeah,
in the note to him?
fine of up to.
No,
No,
please don't say
Fine
up to.
of, okay.
We fine them
Fine.
$300 per
per
tree.
violation.
Per violation. I'll reference what.
And it could be, work in a resource area without a permit, and then the 7 trees. And I thought about that. I knew that this was going to be dicey, and I was thinking, let's just do it.
That's $2,400.
I thought, let's just do it.
Can't fine per tree, remember? Unless you do
Violation.
up to $300. We talked about this when we revised the
Yeah.
regs, remember?
We can't do it per tree.
No.
Then
Or
we
per
got to read
square
that
foot.
last paragraph again. I thought that it said
Well,
Per-
you can
that there could be multiple violations.
Can be, but not, remember, you had it in the regs for square feet of like alteration,
I-
and there was an amount. But you can, if you say, if you had, 3 trees and you did $100 per tree, it can't go over $300. But,
Okay.
I know what you're talking about.
Okay, why don't, another thing that I was going to suggest was that, okay, go ahead.
Okay, so you can be fined of not more than $300. Each day or portion thereof during which a violation continues shall constitute a separate offense. In each provision of the bylaw, rules, and regulations, and permit violated shall constitute a separate offense. So you can say things are separate offense, but you have to say what they are. So if there's 2 sections of the bylaw regulations that they are violating, do you understand? You can do it that way, is my take on it, and I think that's when I spoke to town council about it before.
So that last part, I read that and I thought that we could say per tree because each tree is a violation. You're saying that I'm misreading that?
Correct.
is okay, I've got
Because we had
thick
that kind of
skin.
specific conversation.
We did
Believe
have
me,
that
we-
specific conversation.
We misread it for a long time.
Yeah.
That way.
Boy, okay. Well, that's too bad, because $300, he's got that in his wallet.
But-
Okay, moving on.
But that can be per day.
Correct.
Well, what would the per day be?
Well, I
Per
think.
day of what?
Right, I think it depends on the situation. So say we went out and told someone to stop work and they kept working. Each day they work, or each day sediment gets into a resource area. I think you'd have to be able to drop back to that
Right.
resource area impact. I mean, I don't know, it hasn't come up since I've been here, and I don't know if it's
Yeah.
come up before that, but I think that gets a little tricky.
Well, you've got it covered anyway, because as soon as he accepts the registered letter and does not respond, then it's $300 per day from then on, because each day then represents a further violation.
Okay,
That-
well,
that sounds good.
That's, right.
But that's always been my argument about it, because a guy goes in and cuts 39 trees down, i.e. on Lad Road, and he gets one violation.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, was the same contract.
Same contract.
Okay, that,
Motion. Oops,
I make him-
one more. Steve's got one more.
I have another thing here. It's only 8:25.
Yeah.
That's what we were hoping.
Gunsmoke hasn't started yet, for you old guys. Okay, here we go. Pine Lake.
Has anybody got the special material for this guy?
What do you mean? Okay, Pine Lake, I think that, I got a couple of things about Pine Lake. I think we should start developing our list of penalties.
Wait a minute now, I don't know if we can talk, I don't know if you can bring this subject up.
Yeah, because.
I think when we.
We had him here, we had them on the agenda.
Right.
And now you're away, he's gone, and you're bringing up the subject. I can't allow it.
Okay, I respect that, but I kind of disagree with you. When we would actually make a decision and present that, then you certainly would want him
Can you
here.
just put it in generic terms and not make it specific to?
I think, okay, okay, new business. If somebody has a long-standing project that goes on and on and on, and we're working with that individual in that company, whatever, and we're so busy trying to keep that project in accordance with permit, that we just sort of forget about the fact that, you know, this individual might not be learning anything, and we need to start fining that individual. It might be time, if after a certain period of time, you say, you know, hey, we've had this thing going on, you know, assuming that it's a project that went on for years, say, we've got a long list of things that we maybe need to penalize them. Moving forward, I've got another idea, and it's going to be very
Can I speak
generic.
to that?
Oh, absolutely.
We have to get harder nosed in the upfront. You know, that year that went by, you should have been fining him on day one when he made the violation.
Not he.
You can't wait a year.
The individual.
What?
The individual.
Yeah, the individual, yeah.
Okay.
I wasn't,
Then
you
we.
see what I'm saying? In other words, we weaken ourselves by allowing them to create a pattern with us.
Right, and that's why I bring it up for a situation like that. Okay, so there's a lesson learned then. Okay, now, moving on in the same general, and this really is general, two parts of this. One is that if an individual that's got a big project and keeps saying, that guy had a bulldozer and he tore up those trees. I don't even know who cut the tree down in the wetland, you know. I don't know. So here's what I'm going to say. That we should notify all the contractors that are working on any kind of a large project or small project and say, we're telling you right now that all the work that you're about to do has to be in compliance with the regs and the permit and the SWIP. To make them look at that, any violations will be subject to penalties issued to Pine Lake and the contractor. Oh, sorry, I'm using Pine Lake for an example, but not a good one.
So,
Vicky already does that.
We did that.
So,
yeah.
we actually did that.
yeah,
In this case, that there was notification made to all the contractors. They had to actually sign a document saying that they had read that there were specific order of conditions and that they were to follow those conditions. And if they didn't follow those conditions, there would be I don't know if it specifically said there'd be fines, but and maybe that's something, we have to go that step further to really nail down, or nail home that they are going to be paying fines if they
Right.
don't do this.
But they did sign a document saying that they would adhere to the order of
Every
conditions.
contractor, so that's what you have to do with the SWIP. Those guys are the operator and the person that owns this theoretical big piece of property that he's doing a lot of work on.
That's covered.
Okay, so then that's something that we, in respect to what you said, Ed, and I think that's great, is like, we let things go, and then it's like too late, so I agree.
Yeah, and I can show you the contractor sign-off sheet that I use. I had a property owner one that I've been using for the permits, and I had used for that particular large project.
Okay.
And since that happened, I've been now having all the projects have a contractor sign off too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can add some additional language in there, but it does say that they understand that if they violate it, that they can be held liable. The permits, all the permits do include that. There's a general condition that the property owner understands and that him and the contractor can be liable, but.
And the contractors are not following that, clearly, because all these violations, theoretical violations,
Well, it's new, you know what I mean? They're supposed to have, when we have our pre-construction meeting, a copy of the order conditions there anyways. They're supposed to give it, the property owner's supposed to give it to their contractor. But,
Okay.
so now, because that became an issue and it was hard to pinpoint the contractors, I now have contractors sign that for all of them. And I can add some additional language on there, but it does say, I have read the permit, I understand the conditions, I understand I can be held liable, et cetera. There's about
Right.
5 or 6 checkoffs on there.
Okay.
If we're in a position now where we can't go back and retroactively fine somebody, even though they've
We can. No, I'm not saying we can't. I wasn't
Well,
saying we can't.
I know, but I think it's dicey.
Impractical. It gets dicey.
So maybe we use the same tactic. We send them a letter and tell them that they need to sign this and return, if we're not going to fine them, at least they sign
I
something.
think that's excellent with regard to the one we.
Right.
Well, how about, let's just say theoretically that somehow a dam would be opened up illegally, and it flooded a stream, and then, we haven't, it's not too late. It might not be too late for a stream that would be violated, I mean, we got to talk specifics here, and I think that's okay, because it's an ongoing thing. That the stream below that dam was totally altered, and the lake below that was turned brown,
Yeah.
and those are violations, and I don't think it's too late for us to take
They
action
said
on
that the board blew out by itself. That's what they said.
Yeah. I know, I was being screamed at, but when he said, the lake was, I noticed the lake was high. Well, anyway, Becky was out there was,
Whereas 2 different dams, he's talking about the small one, you're talking about the big
Yeah.
one with the debris.
oh, yeah, right, I'm talking about the big one. So I guess, Ed, you bring up a really good point. Lesson learned, we need to take some kind of action. And unfortunately, we're talking about a $300 fine
Yeah.
for, it's almost like,
It's a lot better than it was before. That's one of the reasons we didn't use it before. Because before you gave a warning, and then you gave a $10 fine or a $25
yeah, I
fine.
know. Yeah,
All right, anything else?
I'm done.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second, all in favor?